Is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game should be live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live at Bridgestone Arena from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. We are inside the Patron Platinum Club. Jared Stillman, Caroline's here. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian's here. How are we, Ian?
What up, what up?
So we had meetings today at the office, some professional development stuff, and I left my bag there. So if you're watching the stream right now, it's just Caroline's face. So
hey, everyone.
Get excited about that, but my bag is en route, so, you know, kind of a diva over here, a little bit this, that, or the other. But it is free agency. And today, there's two things since we broke with the show yesterday that the Titans have done that I think we should discuss and that I have feelings about. The first is the money came out on Jeff Swaim at tight end, $3.5 million for 1 year of Jeff Swaim catching the ball and falling down about 14 times.
He had a couple touchdown passes in there.
Don't
forget about those.
And what did he do when he caught him?
He dropped him.
He fell down. $3.5 million. $3.5 million. If he's worth $3.5 million, then George Kittle is worth $30 million because George Kittle is easily 10 times the player that Jeff Swaim is. I mean, Jeff Swaim freaking stinks, and they gave him $3.5 million.
And for what?
That's
what I don't understand is why Jeff Swaim? Why that much money?
I'm going to do it for you right here. And you can't see it because I don't have my bag, so I don't have my camera for my stream. He catches it, and then he falls down on the ground.
Jared just fell down on the ground.
It doesn't matter if it's 8 yards down the field. It doesn't matter if it's 14 yards down the field. It doesn't matter. He catches the ball and then immediately falls down. And wherever he catches it, it's like if it's a 9-yard pass and it's completed, it will be a gain of 9 yards. It will not be 10. It will not be 13. It will be 9. So, again, he freaking stinks, and they gave him $3.5 million. And you know what's funny is it brought me back to yesterday where they signed him, and we didn't know what the money was. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what the money is, you can't really have an opinion about if you like it or don't like it. But I told you.
Well, I don't think I liked it even without knowing the money.
Well, I told you that I hated it yesterday because we talked about, is this a reality that they could actually, that they could, in theory, actually have this guy be the starting tight end? And I thought to myself, No. They probably signed him because it was like, hey, 1 year veteran minimum, they'll have us on the team. Okay, fine. No,
tight end 3.
They gave him $3.5 million. That's like the Harry Douglas saga that never ended. Like when Mike Mularkey brought him back from IR, he caught one pass. And Mike Mularkey was having Harry's like a coach on the field. And I like Harry. But seriously, like the obsession with Harry Douglas. This is the Mike Vrabel version of Harry Douglas. He is the Nashville Predators version of Jeff Swaim is Ben Harper. Like that's what we're like. What? $3.5 million. That's the first thing. The second thing, they cut Jackrabbit Jenkins, as we questioned yesterday why they had not yet cut Jackrabbit Jenkins.
What we're waiting for. So everyone felt inevitable.
So they cut Jackrabbit Jenkins. And the reason I bring this up, and I promise you that I'm not picking on TD because this is a whole Titans media thing, and I love TD. But when they released Jackrabbit Jenkins, TD had a tweet out there. And I feel like I have to address this because I had to address this with Joe today. And I texted John Glennon about it when I heard him say something crazy about this. And so I'm just going to address it as a whole to everybody out there. So the Titans cut Jackrabbit Jenkins. TD tweets out, this move saves approximately $6.5 million in cap space, which is true. Except that salary cap space does not matter. It is fake. It is a figment of your imagination. And I know I've said this a lot. And I know there's always pushback where people will be like, well, if there's a cap, Jared, why are they releasing Jenkins? And the reason they're releasing Jackrabbit Jenkins is because they don't want to pay Jackrabbit Jenkins. They brought him in last year, probably gave him a little upfront money to come in here and be a starting corner because they needed a starting corner. So they paid him a little bit upfront money, pretended like he'll be on the team longer than that, cut him because they just don't want to pay him anymore. And they cut Roger Saffold because they just don't want to pay him anymore. It's not about salary cap space. It's not, I'm sorry, Jackrabbit, we don't have the money. Though that's what they're telling Jackrabbit. But that's not the reality. Because if money were so tight, they wouldn't be paying Jeff Swaim $3.5 million. It's all manipulative. It's all crazy. It's all fake. It's all phony. And today, two contracts came out, or two situations came out that I think should highlight how ridiculous the salary cap is and how ridiculously fake it is. And so anytime that somebody tells you that the salary cap is a thing that is like inhibiting the Titans getting a certain player. Now, that player may not want to come here. That player may be offered more money elsewhere. That player may not like Mike Vrabel. Like, there may be reasons.
May not want to be here.
Right. Like, there may be reasons why a guy won't come here. But it ain't going to be money. And here are the instances. The two worst quarterback contracts in the NFL, and it's not even close. Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Those are the two worst contracts because in the case of Cousins, they gave him all the money guaranteed, which meant that it's on, it's there, dead or alive. So they could have gotten rid of Cousins, but it would have been something like $45 million, against the cap this year. And then, they could have waited until June 1st and then halved it or whatever you want to call it. But it would have been a pain in the butt to get rid of Cousins. And Cousins, while he's not great, the opportunity to upgrade is not really there. And I think they like him more than everybody else in America likes him. So they just keep giving Cousins all this guaranteed money. He's got tons of leverage and whatever. Minnesota's stuck with him. Then there's Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan in Atlanta signed a big deal a handful of years ago. And after he signed the big deal, they kept wanting to create salary cap space. So they kept, using his contract and giving him a bunch of money up front and moving that, number down further. And so Atlanta, in order to get under the quote unquote cap, Atlanta had to have Calvin Ridley get suspended for the season. And that took all the adjusting that they needed for their salary cap in order for it to be fine. Did you hear that Atlanta's going after Deshaun Watson?
I did hear that.
So Atlanta, who for years has been handcuffed by this Matt Ryan contract. Remember last year? They're going to have to take Kyle Pitts because they can't take a quarterback because they can't cut Matt Ryan because of the cap. Really? Because now they're trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, who makes $37 million a year. So, again, wait a minute. What?
A cap hit is a real thing. But if they want to bring in Deshaun Watson, there are ways of doing that to stay under the cap.
That's because the cap's not real.
Well, it's real, but you can manipulate it so much that it essentially really doesn't matter.
Now, in the next collective bargaining agreement, they're going to put an end to this. And I'm going to tell you why they're going to put an end to this. Because the poor teams are not going to want to do what you have to do in order to maneuver the money. Because you got to give the money up front. So it's like, okay, well, we'll convert your $29 million salary into a signing bonus, and then we'll spread that out over the next 4 years. Well, if you convert that to a signing bonus, that means you walk away today with a $29 million check.
Harold Landry, for example, is making so much money up front.
And I'm going to tell you right now that these owners, and that's Landry, that's $20 million, but that's for a guy. When we're talking about quarterbacks, you're talking about $40, $50 million. These owners of the poor teams are not going to want to do this. Cincinnati is not going to want to write $50 million checks every year because that's what's going to happen based upon the way it is now is they're going to sign Joe Burrow to a contract, and then every year they're going to have to write him a $53 million check up front in order to keep doing what they're doing, and ultimately that old coot over there ain't going to like it because he doesn't like spending money. So they're ultimately going to put a stop to this, and at some point in the next CBA, the cap's going to become real. But right now, the cap is total phony baloney. Green Bay today, $50 million a season for Aaron Rodgers, and the cap number went down. The New Orleans Saints, who a month ago were $60 million in the hole.
I believe it was 80.
$80 million in the hole.
A whole lot of money.
According to Caroline. They right now are the favorites for Deshaun Watson. It is not real. And I know every media person in Nashville wants to fight me over this. I get it. But I will just say it to you like this. Any player that you want the Titans to get, the Titans can get. The question is, do the Titans actually want that person? And I'll give you an example. Christian Kirk. Now, I know, the reporting on what Kirk's contract actually is has varied to it's a little too much money to, that's a lot of money to, oh my God, what are you doing? And so let's say it's somewhere in the middle. I don't want to pay Christian Kirk that kind of money.
No.
Because he ain't that good. But it's not that they can't afford to pay Christian Kirk the money. They can. They can find a way to pay Christian Kirk the money. They just don't want to pay Christian Kirk the money. Brett Kern last week had a $3.75 million cap hit. And all of a sudden, he, quote-unquote, reworked his deal to $2.25, saving the Titans $1.5 million. It's not that the Titans needed that $1.5 million. It's that they just didn't want to pay it. So that is my new thing with the salary cap that I feel like everybody needs to understand, which is this. Again, it is the reality of the situation, which is that if the Atlanta Falcons can go after Deshaun Watson and the Green Bay Packers can be $40 million in the hole and sign everybody back, and the Titans can keep all the players they want to keep and get rid of the ones they don't want, it's not real. So as we look at the Titans and the fact that they've done nothing as far as free agency is concerned except sign their own players, let's remember that the cap is not real. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Now here's the question. What do we want them to do? Because the league year starts tomorrow, and then you can start maneuvering and doing other things. So what do we want the Titans to do? I've got a plan. That's next. Stillman & Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Every Thursday at 1 on Darren, Donick, and Chase, we're joined by Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman for the best inside knowledge on the NHL. It's all brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Care has the power to bring kindness where it's needed. It brings out the best in every one of us. It doesn't just see people. It takes time to understand them. It puts the needs of others ahead of its own. And when you start with care, you end up with a very different kind of bank. Truist. Truist Bank, member FDIC.
From curriculum-based literacy programs and sport leagues to college tours and workforce readiness tracks, Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provide a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. You can support local youth and their great futures by donating at bgcmt.org.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamonds so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. Have you ever cooked a really fine gourmet meal? Yeah, me neither. But I'm told it all comes down to the ingredients. And when I need ingredients to improve my car, the place I go is eBay Motors. Whether you roasted your last transmission, graded your current floor mats, or pureed your side view mirror on a lamppost, eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And by the way, if you recently fired up your grill, don't worry, eBay Motors has grills too. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
4 teams in it right now. I have not yet heard of any other teams being in it. I guess anything is possible, but I have not yet heard that. As far as where this all stands, let's start from the beginning. The Saints and the Panthers have offers in on Deshaun Watson. Both those offers, as Tom and I have detailed, more than 3 first-round picks, plus more. There also is interest from the Browns, who have a meeting with him today. That flight is, I believe, taking off now and headed to Houston. The Browns brass is on it. The Atlanta Falcons also would like to meet with Deshaun Watson. If that is all firm and final, that should be tomorrow. It feels, guys, like the Saints are in a very good position here. That is what it feels like. Just taking the temperature of all things, not saying anything is firm and final, but it seems like based on everything they have to offer, the Saints are maybe in the driver's seat.
The Saints? They were $70 million in the hole. The Saints?
Who dat?
The Saints? Again, every time somebody does this, let's pick a player. You know who I'd like the Titans to sign?
Who?
I'd like the Titans to sign Jarvis Landry.
Okay.
So I'd like the Titans to sign Jarvis Landry. Well, that's going to be too much against cap.
No.
But the cap's not real.
Well, you can move things around.
Emily Proud. So I'm just going to say this because the Nashville, and I love our local media, but I just, I think this is what's happened. I'll get into this in a second. But again, Emily Proud today tweeted out that the Titans added a void year in 2024 to keep Ben Jones' cap number down for 2022. So Ben Jones' cap number is $3.4 million, which, remember our free agency plan last week? It was going to be $3.5 million.
There you go.
So maybe have an idea.
They got him on the cheap.
So it says that Ben Jones had voided years or whatever, and Emily writes, and I love Emily to death. Don't mistake this, but she said, this hasn't factored into over the cap's calculations, but I assume the Titans will be in a good position for the start of the new league year. They'll be fine, everybody.
They will be fine.
They will be fine.
Figure it out.
They will be fine. And you know what? You know who I should be mad at, too, as I rant and rave about all this?
Who?
I should be mad at one Jared Stillman. I think I can look at myself in the mirror and say that all that fear-mongering that I did last year over the Julio trade about extending Tannehill's contract and the cap numbers and the ramifications and what it would mean and what it would do,
the
it doesn't matter.
ramifications are real.
No, the second-round pick that you don't have is real. That's real.
Extending Tannehill is real.
They could have gotten rid of his ass if they wanted to.
They could have.
As Mike Florio wrote, that if Aaron Rodgers
it would have
showed
been
up,
more
they would have been
difficult.
okay with
but
it.
that's the thing with saying the cap's not real, because although it's so, you can manipulate it so much. I mean, when you kick something down the road, it doesn't just go away. You still have to eat it at some point or another, whether it's up front or down the road.
How many years in a row have the Saints been kicking the can down the road?
Oh, for forever.
And how many years have the Saints been absolutely non-contenders because they had to blow up their roster?
Not very many.
I don't think that they've had a single year since Drew Brees was their quarterback. Like, since they were bad at the beginning and Katrina happened. I mean, they've had years where they haven't been very good.
07.
But I don't think they've had years where the cap, like when the Titans started out as the Titans, and they had Steve McNair and Eddie George and Javon Curse and Derek Mason and Blaine Bishop and Samari Roll, and like they put it all on the credit card. And then came 2004, and the Titans went to the playoffs in 99, 2000. They got injured in 2001. They went in 2002 to the AFC Championship game. They lost to the Patriots in the divisional round in 2003. Then 2004 came. Goodbye, Eddie George. Goodbye, Samari Roll. Goodbye, Derek Mason. Goodbye, Kevin Carter. Goodbye, all these good players. And I remember asking Floyd about that, and he was like, rules were different back in my day compared to what it is now, and the cap's is so much money now. And that's what this has become. And everybody is in on it because they know what it means. The existence of the salary cap is there because it allows owners to sit there and tell teams, I'm sorry we couldn't sign better players because we just, wink, wink, don't have the money. It exists there for players because the players are smart, that they know that, hey, get as much money as you can on the signing bonus, and then you'll be released. And you'll have to go get another, you'll have to go out of your way and go get another one. And so then The teams love it because they can just do whatever they want whenever they want, not the owners, but the teams. And so the poor teams can use the cap as a reason to lie about it. The non-poor teams can use the cap as a reason to cut people when they don't want to pay them as much money anymore or get them to take pay cuts or whatever and suppress the overall top salaries. And the players like it because they get their money up front no matter what. The really good players. Mm-hmm. And so, look, if we're living in a world where the salary cap matters, then Jeff Swaim's not getting $3.5 million. You'll go take a guy off the practice squad and pay him the league minimum of $800,000 before you will pay Jeff Swaim $3.5 million if every nickel mattered as much as it does. This just in from Adam Schefter. Ian sends me, the Saints have converted over $8 million of Marcus Davenport's $9.53 million base salary into a signing bonus to create $6.814 million in salary caps. I mean, like, it's phony.
And that's what I'm saying is it's there, but you can do so much with it. It's like putty. If you don't like it one shape, you can just form it into whatever shape you want.
The moral of the story is the Titans can get any player they want. So, I mean, instead of, and I did this, where I tried to be as cap friendly as possible on Friday, and I looked at guys and said, okay, well, what about going out and getting an Isaiah McKenzie, who ended up re-signing in Buffalo? What about getting this guy? From now on, it doesn't matter to me. Just go get whoever you want because this cap will allow you to do it. And there are going to be no ramifications no matter what because there's no ramifications to the Saints. The Saints were really, really good for a long time. And the salary cap, and they had for years had focused upon, the cap going up every year. Then COVID hits. And the cap doesn't go up. So now you're at a point to where you're almost screwed because you were anticipating a bump every year and then you don't get a bump. So if you don't get a bump, then what are you going to do about your lack of a bump? And somehow, some way, they've managed. And they didn't make the playoffs last year, not because of the salary cap. They did not make the playoffs last year because Drew Brees retired and Jameis Winston tore his ACL. And they're going to make the playoffs this year in that division. Now, granted, Tampa Bay's better, but they're going to make the playoffs if in that division, if Deshaun Watson goes to the Saints, because they're going to beat Carolina, they're going to beat Atlanta, and that's probably why Atlanta is trying to get in here, because Atlanta knows even with Deshaun Watson, Atlanta's not going to be good, but Atlanta's probably trying to get Deshaun Watson because they want to keep him away from Carolina, keep him away from New Orleans, so they're trying to get in the mix. But the moral of the story here is, whatever player the Titans want to sign, the Titans can sign. And now I'm a little bummed out because Ian is telling me that the Lions are keeping Khalif Raymond. And I put him on my list too. So every player.
Everyone's taking your players.
Every player that I put for the Titans that they should go out and sign, every team's kept that player, which tells you that that player is a good player because teams know their own players the best. But whoever it is you want the Titans to sign tomorrow, go sign them. I don't care who. Offensive line, go sign them. Let's see. They could use interior offensive lineman. Laurent Duvernay Tardif from the Jets, who I think played with the Chiefs for a long time. He's the doctor that opted out of COVID because he wanted to focus on COVID, I believe. Let's go ahead. Last season, he made $1.5 million with the Jets. Oh, I guess he signed with the Chiefs. No? This says 2022 Chiefs, and then it says 2022 UFA. I don't know. Go sign him. He signed, oh no, he's still with the Jets, but it says he's a free agent. I can't keep up with this stuff anymore because it's all fake. It's like, no, he signed with the Jets, a 5-year, $42 million contract, and then you go to the website and it says he's a free agent. So I don't know which one it is. They probably spread out the contract over 5 years against the cap, and they probably added up the signing bonus, and now I don't even freaking know who's a free agent anymore.
Breathe. As of 4 hours ago, the Jets re-signed him.
Okay, so that's probably what that is. So go sign whoever you want. Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay. You want him? Go sign him.
Sure, why not?
I don't care who you sign. Just sign whoever. But like today, I heard Joe talking to Robby about that Jamarco Jones, who Joe has never watched play football before. And Joe was talking about, I think he can be the kind of guy that can come up. I'm like, just go sign real offensive linemen because it doesn't matter. The money does, as long as your owner is willing to pay. And I think Amy Adams-Strunk is willing to pay. As long as your owner is willing to pay, then just go do it. And so yesterday, I was cool with the Titans not really doing anything because I felt like that it was, going to not inhibit or I wanted to keep themselves from committing too much to Tannehill. Well, now I don't care anymore. So even if you can, as long as you don't trade away picks,
switch.
Just don't trade picks because the money doesn't matter. What I thought yesterday, like all this pushback that I've gotten from all these people about the cap's real, all it does is make it more obvious that the cap's not real. So I don't care about the cap anymore until the next CBA comes and they make the poor teams will make the cap real in the next CBA.
And that's the one thing to look at right now too.
But hold that thought. But I don't care about that much. So now all I care about is don't trade away any picks and go sign whoever you want. So if you can text into the text line whatever player you want to pick and say, what about him, Jared? If you want him, go sign him. Caroline, tell us about Caesar Sportsbook. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get into your phones. And coming up next, there are now, because I don't believe in the cap more than I didn't believe in the cap yesterday, there are two dudes that I'm like, you know what? I think the Titans need to go sign this guy. We'll get to those next. And your phones. Tell us about Caesar Sportsbook.
Welcome to the Caesar Sportsbook Report. Now remember, if you are a new user to Caesar Sportsbook, then they're going to throw you a feast. That means that they're going to give you a $250 Uber Eats gift card. All you got to do is download the app with code RadioEat. One word, RadioEat. And when you wager $50 or more total, you'll get a $250 Uber Eats gift card. Now, if you need something to put that $50 on, there have been some shifts in the NFL future betting market. Now, a little bit of shifts in the AFC South. As of before free agency, the Jags were plus 900 to win the AFC South. And after all of those big, splashy names and numbers that they signed yesterday in free agency, the Jacksonville Jaguars currently sit at plus 650. Now, I don't think that that's a bet that I'm willing to make, but the sports books have responded to free agency. Must be 21, offer valid in Tennessee only. New customers with eligible promo code only. Real money wagers only that have minimum odds of minus 200. $250 gift card redemption code and Step Stadium gift card will be sent via email within 72 hours. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesar Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Did you know that about 80% of new home buyers don't ever shop around for the best mortgage loan? That's a huge mistake. Hey, Willie Donick here. Listen, not all mortgages are created equal, and I'm here to prove it with Loan Pronto. People who use Loan Pronto save on average $3,500 just in closing costs. On top of that, they get a better rate, which saves them thousands more every year. Your banker or agents go to lender. They're fine people, but don't assume they're giving you the best deal. Call Loan Pronto for a quick second opinion or go to loanpronto.com. I'll bet they can get you a better loan, a lower rate, without all those annoying closing costs. What have you got to lose? You compare costs on everything else in your life. Why not do the same with your mortgage? Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Take a shot on college hoops this March with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexrode here to let you know it does not matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, because all customers get a risk-free bet on the bracket. The bracket is here. Just sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim yours today. If you're new to FanDuel, you sign up with the promo code Joe102, you get in on the action. Then you can bet on that underdog you've had your eye on or go with the favorite. Either way, it's risk-free. I'll tell you one team that I am bullish on, and it's a local team, Chattanooga. Dangerous team, incredible buzzer beater to get into the tournament. Look out for Chattanooga. Look out for the Mocs. Now, with the cash out, the ball's in your court. You can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel. So join now. Again, promo code Joe102, or if you have an account, sign in to FanDuel Sportsbook. Claim your risk-free bet today. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $5. Offer is non-transferable. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Wednesday night, it's a matchup in the NBA.
Screen, the easiest basket he'll have tonight.
As the Mavericks head to Brooklyn to take on the Nets.
Got it, KD with a chance for a three-point play.
Coverage begins at 6
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It is very complicated. I'm not good at math. But here are the important numbers for the Aaron Rodgers long-awaited contract extension, which has now been firmly and finally signed and is official. Aaron Rodgers does get his $50 million per year over the 3 years of the deal. But that is not even the most important number here. Here are the most important numbers. Aaron Rodgers gets $62 million average per year through the first 2 years of this deal. He gets $74.5 million in the first new year of this deal. All of that together, it's $150.6 million guaranteed for Aaron Rodgers. So basically, and then at the back end, there's a couple dummy years and a really, really low number. So if you put it all together, the number looks low, but the reality is the first 3 years overall of this deal, $150 million, so $50 per year for Aaron Rodgers. Then he will likely retire, walk away, and continue to do whatever it is he does. But the main thing, Tom, is that Aaron Rodgers, richly compensated, highest paid quarterback in the NFL, based on these numbers, and he drastically lowers Green Bay's cap number so they can continue to do work.
There you go. That is Ian Rappaport talking about how Aaron Rodgers signed for $150 million, and yet their cap number went down, which is amazing.
Which is wild.
I promise, now that I don't believe in the salary cap, even more so today than I did yesterday, there are 2 players that I think the Tennessee Titans absolutely have to be on, because let's be real. Other than signing their own players, which does not make you a better team, it makes you the same team. Other than signing their own players back, including a tight end for $3.5 million that literally is a practice squad guy and falls down every time he catches the ball. Other than those moves that the Titans have made and some, borderline backup offensive lineman that started 7 games over 3 years with the Seahawks, the Titans haven't done anything. Here's what they need to do. They need to go sign Morgan Moses, the right tackle from the New York Jets. Morgan Moses, over the last 7 seasons, has started 16 games, and each season he started 16 to 17 last year, so he did miss a start. But unlike the past with Conklin and Kelly, and while Quessenberry played all these games last year, he's still a backup. This guy is a legitimate starting right tackle, and it reminds me of a story that I have told many a time on the radio, but I will tell again, which is the first time that I ever did a show with Floyd. We got hired, and like a week later, Willie and George were out, so I was with Floyd filling in on the afternoon show, and I didn't really know him very well. So this was before we went on talking about what we were going to go over on the show, and I'm just sitting there trying to make small talk with Floyd, who was the general manager of the Titans when I was a kid. And I go, Floyd, the Titans going to be any good this year? And this was after the draft, and he looks right at me and goes, we don't have a right tackle. And I was like, it's a pretty big deal, huh? And he was like, yes. And it was awful that season when they tried to guard Jeremiah Patasi at right tackle. And then as soon as Wisenhunt got fired, they switched, and they put another guy out there who was terrible at right tackle. And as soon as John Robinson got in, boom, Jack Conklin first-round right tackle. But Conklin was hurt a lot, and Kelly was hurt a lot, would come out of games and stuff like that, and old and didn't practice much. Morgan Moses starts. And so whatever it takes to just get that tackle spot filled up so that then you can say, all right, I feel good about left tackle, although good may be a little bit of a stretch. I feel okay about left tackle. I feel good about the guy at right tackle will be playing right tackle. Mm-hmm. I feel comfortable about the right guard, Nate Davis. I feel comfortable about the center, Ben Jones. And now I got to figure out left guard somehow in the draft or see if the kid that they took last year in the second round can actually do it. That one, I'm okay with that one. The other move that I would make, and this, if you were to just think about money, there's no way you'd be able to do this. Like if you were to really think about the ramifications of salary caps and, well, this guy makes this much money and next year his dead cap hit and this. But as we have mentioned many a time already today, it's not, real. I would call the Patriots and I would tell the Patriots, I'll give you, and I would take like a fairly average player on the roster that maybe Belichick thinks he can use, like Westbrook Akina. I'll take a guy like that, or Chris Jackson. Mm-hmm. I'll give you that for Jonnu Smith because I don't think they want Jonnu Smith anymore. Now, again, your people, their people, would have to work out the financials about how to do this so that New England doesn't get hurt badly on their phony baloney cap and that you don't get hurt badly on your phony baloney cap. And I'm telling you, if Deshaun Watson can go from the Houston Texans to the Atlanta Falcons or can go from the Houston Texans to the New Orleans Saints, you can acquire Jonnu Smith. That I feel comfortable with. If that's going to happen, instead of looking at these tight ends and saying can Gerald Everett be a guy that can fit in here? Because all the good tight ends got franchised. So instead of that, could you sign, Jared Cook for one season to come in here? Just go get Jonnu back because the money doesn't matter. I don't know if Hayden Hurst of the Atlanta Falcons would fit with the Titans. I know he was on the Falcons last year, so I assume he knows the offense, but I don't know if he'd be a fit for what Tannehill wants or what, Todd Downing's going to try to do or whatever. So just go trade for Jonnu back. I don't think the Patriots want him. I mean, I saw a report that was like their free agent grades: Judon A-, Hunter Henry B+, Nelson Aguilar B, Kendrick Bourne B+, Jonnu Smith F.
Well, he never plays.
So they obviously don't want him.
And they're grossly overpaying him for him to just sit on the bench. But to your point, you're not doing cartwheels over here over the Titans free agency moves because two of the three of them so far, however many it was, two of them are players that they already had. So you're going to bring back a player that you already had. Does that necessarily make you better? Or does it make you the same?
It does make you better. Here's why it makes you better. Because you didn't have him last year.
No.
So when you had Jonnu Smith, your offense is pretty good. When you didn't have Jonnu Smith, your tight end caught the ball, fell down.
But is Jonnu Smith the difference maker?
Jonnu Smith does make a difference for the Titans. That I am convinced of. Now, can you go get another Jonnu Smith somewhere else? Could Gerald Everett be that guy in free agency? Maybe.
Probably so.
I don't know. But obviously, Gerald Everett, they don't want him back in Seattle. They didn't want to try to keep him with the Rams. I mean, the Rams, Brad Hopkins' kid at tight end. Mm-hmm. And this shows you how bad the development of the tight end position for the Titans has been. And by the way, the guy was coaching the tight ends before Jonnu and those guys, or after Jonnu and those guys took over, was Todd Downing. And I'll tell you what, I think they got a good tight ends coach right now in Les Steckel's kid. But I say this to say that I know Jonnu can play here and that there wouldn't be any time. Remember all the talk about can Julio and Tannehill get figured out? Can they do this? Can they do that? And we spent all this time discussing whether or not they could do it. I don't have to worry about that here. Here, I know that if you get Jonnu Smith, he could come in day one. He knows all the plays, and he knows what to do, and he'd probably be more excited to be in a place that wants him. And I'm sure Tannehill would be happy to have him. And so there is a familiarity aspect to Jonnu Smith that I'm okay with. And again, he got way too much money from the Patriots. I never would have given him that kind of money. But again, going back to the cap, it wasn't that the Titans couldn't have afforded Jonnu Smith because they traded for Julio Jones. They could have franchise tagged Jonnu Smith for less than they paid Julio Jones. They didn't because they didn't want him. So maybe they don't want him. I don't know. But those are the two guys.
Did they not want him, or are they just not willing to offer him as much money as the Patriots did?
Well, but it wouldn't matter if you tagged him.
True.
So
they didn't want to tag him.
They just obviously didn't want to pay him. Which goes back to a lot of this is you just look at a guy and you're like, I like you at $800,000. Mm-hmm. I don't like you at $10 million. But I would go get Jonnu back because, again, cause and effect. With Jonnu, woo. Without Jonnu, So that's how I feel about it. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in our text line?
Mark from Paris texts in and says, I disagree, Jared. The salary cap is real. My Cowboys are always in salary cap hell. Had to redo Dak and Zach Martin. Traded Cooper to save $20 million. Cut Blake Jarwin and Greg Sutherland. And lost Cedric Wilson, so on and so forth.
No. The Dallas Cowboys traded Amari Cooper to Cleveland because they didn't want him anymore. Remember the Rex Ryan thing where he was like, where Rex Ryan got in trouble during COVID because he said on TV, was talking about Amari Cooper and he called him a turd?
I do remember that.
So I think the Cowboys like Amari Cooper at $5 million. Mm-hmm. But they didn't want to pay Amari Cooper $20 million, so they traded him. That's why they did. They didn't do it because... you think
if they wanted to keep him, they could keep him.
Yeah, if they wanted to keep him, they'd have found a way to keep him.
If Amari Cooper was playing at $20 million worth, they would keep him.
That's they had to redo Dak and they had to redo Zach Martin because they want to keep Dak and they want to keep Zach Martin And they didn't want to keep Amari Cooper. They look at their team and they're like, we got Michael Gallup, we got CeeDee Lamb, we got Dalton Schultz, we got Zeke. We're fine. Jerry doesn't want to. You think Jerry Jones? Now, look, Jerry will pay, to win. But do you really think...
They're not going to pay you to not win.
But do you think Jerry Jones is really going to look at Amari Cooper's production and pay $20 million for that if he has a choice? Absolutely not. Like this, I mean, if you believe in the salary cap, then you are gullible. That's my official take on the salary cap. And again, you are kind of trying to soften it, I feel like, with this idea of, well, I mean, it's real, but it's maneuverable. But if it's maneuverable...
Because that's what it is.
But if it's maneuverable, then it's not real. It's like we were talking about punishments.
You still have to stay under the cap.
It's like if you have parents, we've all had a friend that never gets punished, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what the salary cap is. It's like if you do that, then... But there's never any punishment. So the kid's never going to learn. Like, again, every team can spend as much money as they want, and they all pay these guys hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Titans have a guy by the name of Vin Marino who is in charge of this. And it's their job to make sure that a team that last year told us they were too poor to sign Jonnu Smith or Corey Davis and then turned around and traded for Julio Jones at full cost. Like, because
that's what they wanted to do. And they were willing to maneuver Tannehill's contract to be able to do that.
But if you can maneuver everything all the time, then it's not real. There's not a cap. A cap is to limit your spending. This actually technically increases spending, which is another reason why the owners in the NFL are never going to, in the next CBA, allow this to continue. Like, there is no chance. Because the poor teams, because again, the way to get around the cap is to spend more actual cash, and the poor teams, they don't want to do that.
Right.
Back to your phones on this next. 615-737-1025. Your reaction. Again, the Titans have been incredibly quiet. Why? Why have they been so quiet? I got a thought on it, but we'll get to that coming up next. Hey, Preds fans, join us for Smashville Live tomorrow night on 1025 The Game. Smashville Live airs on Wednesdays during the Preds season from 6 to 7, featuring players, former players, and other special guests. Be sure to join us for Smashville Live, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Temperatures warming to the upper 60s and lower 70s this afternoon under cloudy skies with scattered showers possible, especially as we head overnight.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The Law Office of Amanda J. Gentry, our team is dedicated to helping you navigate the court system. We defend your rights, we protect your rights, and we enforce your rights. Whether you've been charged with a crime, you have children that you want to parent, we will go wherever justice demands. Call our team today, 615-604-6263.
Call the Law Office of Amanda J. Gentry at 615-604-6263 or visit AmandaJGentry.com for more information.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as your Nashville Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers this Thursday night. Puck drops at 6, but the party starts at 5:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at Headquarters Beercade downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
It's Markdown Madness at Electronic Express. Bring the tournament to your living room with 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. Computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Markdown Madness is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
You could unlock more cash than you realize from your home's equity with a cash-out refinance today. In the last year, average home values have gone up nearly 20%. And with Rocket Mortgage, you could unlock thousands in less than 3 weeks. But you've got to act right now before rates go up. So when you're looking to unlock the cash in your home, Rocket can. Call 833-8ROCKET today or go to rocketmortgage.com to get started.
Rates current as of 12/12/21. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Number 3030. Call 800-490-1233 for disclosures and cost information.
Sometimes their glass is half full.
That was unbelievable. It was the best NFL draft they've ever had.
Sometimes glass half empty.
What are we getting ourselves into here? Tough game.
And sometimes it's all about the numbers.
One win and they've gone on this streak and now they're at 500.
Hang out with Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2 during your workday. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Play hooky with the game and watch all the games at New Heights Brewing this Thursday and Friday, March 17th and 18th. We'll be broadcasting live, and there will be beer and basketball all day. Enjoy food from the local spot, and try beers from the tap. Truck Nashville and New Heights Brewing. A portion of the proceeds from beer sales will go to Metro Animal Care and Control. Come play hooky and give back at New Heights Brewing at 928 Rep. John Lewis Way in Nashville. Powered by Wager, the new gaming app where you challenge your community, not the house. Let's go back to your phones. Again, free agency. By the way, have you guys been surprised by the fact that it feels like free agency today not as active as yesterday? Or is that just me?
No, I feel that too. Because I think at the very beginning of it, it's just all of those moves that these teams have been sitting on, they just pounce on it.
But he didn't feel like even there were a couple big-time guys that went yesterday. Like Brandon Sheriff went yesterday. Trying to think of some others, but it feels like for the most part.
CJ Uzomah.
Yeah, and he's not even a big-time guy.
No, but I think it's because all of the quarterback carousel has kind of overshadowed everything. Like the big news came with the day of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers.
The one that's crazy is earlier today, Randy Gregory, this guy that's always in and out of trouble. I believe that Randy Gregory, the Dallas Cowboys were working on a deal to keep him because they love Randy Gregory, even though he's kind of like a bad dude. Or I don't even know if he's a bad dude or not. I just know he's always suspended. It might be one of those things where he was like smoking weed or something, like Honey Badger.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But so this Randy Gregory, that they wanted, like the Cowboys wanted specific language in their contract to like kind of protect him in case he went off the reservation again.
Right.
And so Dallas went and his agent went and took the terms over to Denver and was like, hey, Dallas is trying to pay us this money, but they want extra protections. You want them? Yeah. Signed them. So now Dallas might be going after Von Miller. So who knows? So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Back to your phones. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com here on Free Agency. What do we have in our text line?
Mark texts in and says the salary cap is punishable. Cooper got himself in Jerry's doghouse with no vaccine and then goes to a Mavericks game unmasked, then gets COVID, misses 2 games. Jerry's all about paying players he drafted.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, and I don't know that I don't know that COVID had to do. I'll be honest, I have no idea if COVID's why. I think that it played a role in the Carson Wentz thing in Indianapolis. I don't think it played a role in the Cooper thing, though I don't know enough about it. Mm-hmm. But again, like, think about the guys the Titans cut. The Titans cut Roger Saffold, right? And everybody likes Roger Saffold, but nobody really thinks that Roger Saffold matters that much. Like when Roger Saffold misses a game, which has happened several times over the last couple of years. I believe he missed the Chiefs last year. He missed the Ravens, the one on the road that they won in overtime the year before that. Like when Roger Saffold misses a game, and we're doing the pregame show, and it's like inactive for the Titans, and it feels like every week it comes right down to the wire about whether or not Roger Saffold's going to play. Mm-hmm. And so then it's like we're doing the inactives, and it's like inactive for the Titans today. Derek Roberson, Dylan Radence, who's somebody else? Matt Dickerson, and Roger Saffold. It isn't like we're sitting there and Chris and Mark, and we're like, what are they going to do without Saffold? We're all fine. So, they knew when they signed Saffold to this deal that when it came to this point where there was no dead money and it was like a $12 million cap hit, they knew they weren't going to keep Roger Saffold. They didn't want to keep Roger Saffold. They didn't want to keep Jack Rabbit Jenkins. They didn't want to keep those people. They wanted to keep Jeff Swaim, which is why they gave him a ridiculous contract. Again, $3.5 million for a guy who literally is a practice squad player.
And why they want to keep Jeff Swaim is beyond us.
I mean, I'm fine with Jeff Swaim on the team.
But for $3.5 million.
At the veteran minimum, I'm fine with. What else we got?
Kyle texts in and says, I'm sorry, Jared, but I have to put you in with the flat earthers. The salary cap is real, and the example you use with Amari Cooper proves that. Amari did not earn that big contract, so to make room for guys like Dak, they got rid of him.
To make room for Dak? Dak has always been on that team. In fact, the year that they signed Cooper to that contract, they franchise tagged Dak at like $38 million a year. And the cap has gone up.
To keep and continue to bring in players that are difference makers. But that's the whole thing is that
owners do not.
They didn't want to pay Amari Cooper, so they didn't.
Owners do not want to pay for guys that they don't need. Like, there is an element of this. Like, if you've operated any business where you're sitting there with a P&L, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with a P&L.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there with you got your profit right here, you got your losses right here, you got your net at the end. And how many times is somebody in a position of power look and say, do we really need to pay this for that? And so Jerry Jones doesn't want to write a $20 million check to Amari Cooper because he doesn't think it's worth it. So the idea, any team can have any player that they want. The Green Bay Packers are an example of this. The Green Bay Packers wanted to keep Aaron Rodgers, and they did. They wanted to keep Devontae Adams, and they did. They wanted to keep the linebacker Devontae Campbell, and they did. They wanted to keep Preston Smith, and they did. Zadarius Smith played one game last year. And even then, they were willing to do something where they would have given him the cash for this year, but nothing more. And he was like, nah, I'm going to go to free agency instead. You can pay whoever you want in this current era. Because here's what will happen. I don't know when the CBA runs out. I think it's 10 years. So I may not be on the radio by the time that the CBA runs out or whatever. Knock on wood, who knows. But, like, when the next CBA comes out, they will not allow this. Like, this kind of stuff that we're doing where teams that are $60 million in the hole can go get Deshaun Watson. They're not going to allow that because
the cap is going to explode before that happens.
Yes, the cap will explode next year, and then it'll go up even more once the Sunday ticket package gets sold again. And the NFL will be making a lot of money. But the owners are not – the way the cap works is the cap is a reflection of whatever the revenue split. I want to say it's like 48.5. So the players get 48.5% of the money, which means that the salary cap and salary floor is all determined off of how much money technically the owners have, and that's the revenue split. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're one of these teams like the Saints that pays out of pocket to push all these contracts down and convert to signing bonus and create cap space and give Drew Brees another chance and go get Deshaun Watson and all these things they're doing, then that just means that Gail Benson is writing a check every time that those things come due. They convert so-and-so's $20 million salary into a signing, but that means Gail Benson is writing a check and signing it. Well, these owners aren't going to want to keep doing this. So when it comes to the Cowboys situation, they probably could have kept Amari Cooper, but Jerry didn't want to write that check. So then you use the salary cap as an excuse, and you say, these are hard decisions. Then this goes back. Robinson at the Combine last week was talking, these are hard decisions to make. They're not hard decisions. This was not a hard decision to cut Jack Rabbit Jenkins. No disrespect to him. I thought he had a fine season.
Nothing special.
But I ain't paying him all that money because he ain't worth it. So that's not a hard decision for me to make, and that wasn't a hard decision for them to make. But they lie, and then they'll tell you, we've got a lot of hard decisions to make because of the salary cap. Again, Green Bay's cap was a total disaster, and they kept everybody. So it's not real. It's not real. What it allows, the people that want to write the checks can continue to write the checks, and the poor teams can use the cap as a reason to why they can't write the checks. And that's what's going on here. And anybody who thinks that it's anything different, go look at the Rams. The Rams spent so much money. And they won a Super Bowl, but they spent so much money on guys that aren't even on their team. And they spent so much money. But it worked out for them. But nobody ever talks about it. The salary cap. The Chiefs. These are the moves the Chiefs made yesterday.
Yeah.
The Chiefs keep signing. They went out. They're losing Honey Badger, and they're signing a better safety to a 3-year, $30 million contract. And they signed somebody else yesterday, and they're in the mix for Cleveland. Landry. I mean, like, it's not, gosh, it's so fake.
Well, when it comes down to it, it's just like regular shopping. Are you willing to spend a lot of money for something that you won't use very often? Probably not. It's the same thing with Amari Cooper. The Cowboys signed him to this deal. He's not living up to the deal. If he was, I guarantee you the Cowboys probably would have kept him and cut someone else.
Oh, goodness. What else we got?
Another texter checks in and says maybe Amy Adams isn't letting J-Rob spend money this year.
You know, that's a thought that I wanted to get into at some point today, which was, you know, do we think, because she's been writing a lot of checks lately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that check to Tannehill, that check to Julio, that check to Harold Landry, those are some checks now. And I do wonder if, and I'm not going to accuse because I don't know, and that's a really strong accusation to make on the owner of a franchise that you cover locally. And on top of it, like, I would like to think that I like Amy Adams Strunk and she likes me, and not that I do this to be in good graces with the owner, but like if I'm going to go out there and accuse somebody of being cheap, like I better be pretty darn sure of it. And so I don't know. But I do wonder if that is part of, you know, the scenario here that is in front of the Titans, which is that she's basically said, like, hey, I've fronted a lot of money over the last couple of years. And, I mean, we can't keep writing $100 million worth of checks on the front end in order to make this thing float while trying to factor in how much money we're going to spend on this new stadium that we're about to ask the entire city to build. So I think that is a part of it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. There are some moves out there, but some rumors that I think are just juicy in the NFL. Those are next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Finishing jobs on time, never being idle, and powerful equipment. Meade has the John Deere excavating equipment and the smart grade technology solutions for you and your business. Power your business with a new, used, or rented excavator and get the performance you expect and service you can rely on. Call us today for the equipment built as tough and reliable as you, or visit us at meadtractor.com. That's meadtractor.com.
Your home value is way up. You can use that money now to pay off credit cards or remodel your house, or both. Hey, Willie Donner for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can convert that home equity into cash as little as 2 weeks from now with no cost to you and zero hassle. Mike and Joan in Brentwood called Loan Pronto and they did a Loan Pronto zero cost cash out refi. They got a check for $100,000. They used $50,000 to pay off all of their credit cards and a car loan. Use the other $50K to upgrade their master bath and kitchen. They locked in a new APR in the 2s and lowered their total monthly bills by hundreds of dollars. Hello? What are you waiting on? Call Loan Pronto now and convert your home value into cash. Put that money to good use. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780 or lowpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
At Wendy's, March is madness.
with our breakfast Baconator. Sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, both made with fresh cracked eggs, or even a honey butter chicken biscuit. And we're just getting warmed up. Get 50% off the official breakfast of March Madness when you order through the Wendy's app. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
For a limited time at participating Wendy's via app offer only. Account registration required. No discount applies to taxes or fees. Not valid with any other offer.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Karen Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios inside Bridgestone Arena. Preds and Penguins tonight. NFL free agency is rocking and rolling. And now the big second half of free agency is here, the off-season period, the drama and gossip of it all. And it started off with the first half, which was, what will Aaron Rodgers do? Then it went from that, and it kind of took this weird turn on us because we saw the Brady thing happen, but it wasn't like a long, drawn-out process with Brady. Yes, he unretired, and we talked about, the things he said. Would he come back? Would he not come back? But it wasn't like Brady was doing what Aaron was doing, and literally every single day it was a discussion.
He wasn't posting cryptic messages
on
Instagram.
Not. But now the second half. The glove did not fit on Deshaun Watson over the weekend, and there were no charges, and he is free to play ball. And now all the teams are lining up. I did 3 hours on SiriusXM Saturday morning talking about Deshaun Watson. And every call I took a call from a guy in D.C. who's a Panthers fan. He would be great for us. I took a call from Detroit from some guy that was like, he should come to the Lions. We got all these picks from the Rams. And I'm like, he's probably not going to want to go there. But I was thinking about this as the juicy rumors start to roll out here about Deshaun Watson. I don't know if you've seen them, but Adam Schefter reporting today that apparently the Atlanta Falcons are now in the mix. So if you're keeping score at home, you've got the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers, the Cleveland Browns are getting ready to meet with Deshaun Watson today, according to Diana Rossini. And again, I don't know how much I trust her sources, not a lot to be honest, but Diana Rossini reported that Watson reached out to the Falcons, which I think technically would be against the rules anyways, but they reached out to the Falcons, and so maybe they're interested in Watson's camp is maybe interested in Atlanta with Arthur Smith in that stadium, and he's from Atlanta, whatever. And I can't tell you one way or another what's going to happen here with Watson. I still think Arizona's the best spot for him. I think that's what, Houston would get in return is the best, but it looks like you have to set up a meeting with the Texans in order to get Deshaun's attention. And I don't know if Arizona can do that with Kyler Murray, to call Houston to be like, hey, can we get a meeting with Deshaun? But I do wonder
Where did you go? Where did you turn that page with Deshaun and Kyler?
When I realized that all these teams had to call to get a meeting. So if Houston and Arizona could talk on the down low like Seattle and Denver did, even though Russell had a no-trade clause.
I'm sure they could.
It doesn't sound like that's what – I mean, this sounds like hiring a coach in the NFL. In college, when you go to hire a coach, they track all these flight trackers because they want to know who's talking to who.
They got people hanging out on the tarmac.
In the NFL, when you're trying to hire a coach, you have to announce who you interview. So, say you want to hire let's say we wanted to hire you to be head coach. We have to send out a press release that says, we have interviewed Caroline Fenton for the position of head coach. So that's what this feels like is going on with Watson. And we know how fickle, the feelings about quarterback and team and, unfollowing and posting pictures. And we know how this all works with Kyler Murray, that if Arizona were to reach out to Houston and it become public that they wanted to talk about Deshaun Watson, then I think if they didn't get him, the ramifications between Kyler and the organization, which are already not in a good place, might be even worse. So that's the reason why I'm like, if you're Arizona, gosh, I'd want to pick up the phone and be like, hey, what would it take for us to, and maybe they are doing it on the down low, because again, the Russell deal got done completely on the down low, and then all of the insiders told us after the fact, they were like, well, they've been working on this deal since the Senior Bowl.
You don't believe that for a second?
I believe it. I just wonder why you all didn't report on it if you're such great insiders. And I know the answer. They didn't want it out.
Right.
So they kept it on the down low.
Get out if you don't want them to get out.
If you don't want them to get out. So, in theory, could Houston, Carolina, and Deshaun do that? I mean, Houston, Arizona, and Deshaun do that? I think they could. But I think, Deshaun really wants this free agency tour. And it looks like he's enjoying it. The whole meeting with these teams and then meeting with those teams.
Not interested in these teams, interested in these teams.
Does it matter at all? Because yesterday, Houston said no to Indianapolis as far as reaching out to Deshaun Watson. And while I've never expected Houston to trade within the division to Indianapolis, it certainly would have been a punch in the gut if Watson had gone to the Colts. Because if Watson goes to the Colts, they're probably the favorite in the AFC South. Does it matter where he goes as long as it's not Indy and as long as it's not one of the top teams in the AFC, which I don't think we'd have to expect because every team except for the Titans and the Steelers, who have now, I guess, made up their mind at quarterback, every one of those teams has a top quarterback and would not be in the market for Watson anyways. So if he were to go to Cleveland, for example, would that be an issue? If he were to go to an NFC team, is there a particular NFC team that you would want him to go to? Is there an element of this that is, good, just get him out of the division and you don't have to worry about him? Or is there an advantageous spot for the Titans as far as where Deshaun Watson lands could be?
Is there an advantageous place for him to land? I mean, the easiest answer for that would be a team in the NFC. Now,
are all NFC teams the same?
So who's on the, is there a quarterbackless NFC team on the Titans schedule next year?
Okay, so the Titans play the NFC East. And they play the Packers.
Okay, so not the Packers.
So
that's
don't
scary
have to
enough
worry.
As is.
Now Philadelphia,
Could be in the
I'm
mix.
surprised we haven't heard Philadelphia as a team rumored for Deshaun Watson because they've got all those first-round picks from the deals that they made between the Indianapolis deal for Wentz and the deal to move back in the draft last year with with Miami. They've got first-round picks. But I kept saying this on Sirius over the weekend, and I still feel this, which is I don't think Houston cares about those picks as much as you get the enjoyment of saying, 4 first-round picks. But, if I'm the Texans, whatever I do in this deal is to get me a path at a franchise quarterback, unless I think Davis Mills is a franchise quarterback, which I think the Texans are maybe cautiously pessimistic that he might be. So if they could get Kyler, a young guy in return, they would do that and dump on Davis Mills.
If we operate under your theory of they don't want it to get out, then getting a franchise quarterback who is already established either A, as a franchise quarterback, or B, on his way to becoming a franchise quarterback, then that's not necessarily Houston's path. If that team doesn't want it getting out, that team is interested in Deshaun Watson, but already has their franchise quarterback. For example, Arizona.
Sure. So then the question would have to be, what is the path to a franchise quarterback?
Is it drafting a quarterback?
But this year's class supposedly doesn't have one, and it doesn't matter because this year's class, the Texans have the path to this year's quarterback class because they picked third. So they don't have to worry about
that. Path already exists for them.
So they can get that. If there's a quarterback that they like, they can get that guy no matter what. And that's where I'm saying, okay.
Unless it's collecting picks to, put up a
bunch
bunch
of
team
picks
around
that guy.
Yes.
But again, I still
or deal picks for a quarterback.
I'm still skeptical about all of this. Maybe it works because they're run by New England guys and they're trying to do things the New England way, and maybe they think they can bring in a Brian Hoyer or a Matt Castle or one of these guys, Jarrett Stidham or something, and bring them into quarterback and say, okay, let's do things this way. But I still think with Deshaun, the key here is path to a quarterback. Here's what would make the Falcons interesting. They don't have all the picks that everybody else has, though they do. shockingly have an extra second-round pick for next year's draft.
Oh, where'd they get that?
So what I could see with Atlanta is I could see them making Matt Ryan part of the deal, which you almost would have to.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Atlanta scares me, is maybe, and I don't know exactly, if Houston would have to pay any money on Matt Ryan or whatever, but maybe Houston gets a bunch of picks from Atlanta and Matt Ryan and then turns around and trades Matt Ryan. Because there's a lot of teams in this league. This is like my friends that are like, Titans can't get anything for Tannehill. I'm like,
in this market, absolutely.
I'm like, there's a lot of freaking teams out there right now that would like a quarterback.
I mean,
and
if there are teams out there salivating over Jameis Winston.
Well, we don't know if there are, though.
I think
no one
there
signed
are.
him.
No one signed him. No, that's true.
And we haven't heard any rumors about him.
But my take on Atlanta or New Orleans, I would love it just to make that division more interesting.
Well, I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is Matt Ryan getting into the hands of the Colts. I'm not really worried about, like, if he goes to Carolina, I'm not worried about Sam Darnold getting into the hands of Indianapolis.
But is that just Indianapolis patching up another year or two with an old, washed-up quarterback?
I think Matt Ryan's much better than what they've had. I think Matt Ryan is much better.
But does it scare you?
Yes.
Do you think Houston would trade in the AFC South quarterbacks like that?
I think they would trade Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
I don't, because by the time they're good, Matt Ryan will be done. I think they'll trade Matt Ryan. And if they get the Colts involved in this, then I think they'll hold Indianapolis over the barrel, and they'll make them give up next year's first for Matt Ryan. So you see, like, let's say that Atlanta gives you 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, Matt Ryan, and the rights to Calvin Ridley for next year, and something else.
That's a lot.
I mean, probably, honestly, anything other than Kyle Pitts would probably be okay by Atlanta's standard to get Deshaun Watson.
Wow.
So you do that. Then you trade Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for next year's first and this year's third, one of those Washington picks, and now you've just traded Deshaun Watson for like 8 assets. So I could see Houston doing that. And if Matt Ryan's on the Colts, then I do
Jimmy Garoppolo, other free agent quarterbacks, or quarterbacks that may be on the market.
that Matt Ryan is better than them. That if you look at the totality of his career, Matt Ryan is significantly better than them. Like that, and look, Ryan's old, but I don't think he is a bad quarterback even at this stage. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. What do we make of kind of the Deshaun rumors? And it's weird because, like, I don't want to tell people what I think Deshaun will do or what I think will happen because I don't know. But there's just some teams that I just want to just cross them off. And I'll tell you who they are next. Right here, Stillman & Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Tune in every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Nashville's own Jason Fitz with Jared Stillman and Company. Fitz started his sports talk career right here on 102.5 The Game, and now he anchors shows for ESPN. Jason Fitz is brought to you by Blood Assurance. Give blood. Give local. Give life.
Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. They help millions of people like you take control of their personal information online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. The Kubota commercial lineup, with purpose-built mowers like the Z700 Zero-Turn, SZ Stand-On, and W-Series Walk-Behind, decrease downtime and increase productivity. A comprehensive fleet program with special discounts and free loaners helps grow your business one perfectly manicured lawn at a time. Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Come see why Coleman Tractor Company is one of the largest Kubota dealers in Middle Tennessee, Paris, Clarksville, Nashville, and their new location in White House.
It was just so sparkly and just white. It's just the purest diamond.
That's Mallory Irvin, Miss America runner-up and 3-time contestant on The Amazing Race, talking about her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
It's my favorite thing I've ever owned in my life, and probably my favorite thing I ever will own unless I get another ring from Genesis.
Mallory has a stunning GIA-certified diamond in a setting that Genesis custom designed just for her.
It was a personalized experience, and they really went above and beyond to make what we wanted to work.
At Genesis, unique rings are our specialty.
What's really awesome about Genesis, I think a lot of girls look at other girls' rings a lot, and you don't want the same ring as the girl sitting beside on an airplane or something. It's really awesome because Genesis has the designers I feel that women want.
Names like Henry Dossi, Viraggio, Tocori, and dozens more.
So you don't get that cookie cutter kind of chain store. My ring is beautiful, but it looks like everyone else's. You get an engagement ring that's one of a kind.
Genesis diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
I highly recommend Genesis.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
They're going to be our jewelers for life.
Hey, Robby Stanley here to tell you can take a shot on college hoops this March with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. And it doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, all customers get a risk-free bet on the bracket. Just sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim yours today. And if you're new to FanDuel, sign up with promo code ROB to get in on the action. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Then you could bet on the underdog you've had your eye on or just go with the favorite. Either way, it's up to you and it's risk-free. The Tennessee Vols, they just won the SEC tourney. I think they have what it takes to get to the Final Four this year, but you take it any way you want to take it, and with cash out, the ball's in your court, so you can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. You can join now with promo code ROB, or if you already have an account, sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim your risk-free bet today. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $5. Offer is non-transferable. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Attention veterans of Middle Tennessee. Little Guys Movers wants to put your hard-earned skills and leadership talent to work with your very own Little Guys Movers franchise. Be your own boss and build a team with standards as high as your own, and all while serving your community with the same hustle that you served your country. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Start a fulfilling, profitable new chapter of your life as a member of a team with 30-plus years of growth and good times at littleguysfranchise.com. That's littleguysfranchise.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
4 teams in it right now. I have not yet heard of any other teams being in it. I guess anything is possible, but I have not yet heard that. As far as where this all stands, let's start from the beginning. The Saints and the Panthers have offers in on Deshaun Watson. Both those offers, as Tom and I have detailed, more than 3 first-round picks plus more. There also is interest from the Browns, who have a meeting with him today. That flight is, I believe, taking off now and headed to Houston. The Browns brass is on it. The Atlanta Falcons also would like to meet with Deshaun Watson. If that is all firm and final, that should be tomorrow. It feels, guys, like the Saints are in a very good position here. That is what it feels like. Just taking the temperature of all things, not saying anything is firm and final, but it seems like based on everything they have to offer, the Saints are maybe in the driver's seat here.
There you go. That was Ian Rappaport today talking about Atlanta's in the mix, but he thinks the Saints right now are the favorites for Deshaun Watson. The only thing that would do if the Saints got Deshaun Watson would prove that the salary cap is not real, which we already knew, but it would also push Jameis Winston effectively out of New Orleans. I mean, I don't even know who needs a quarterback anymore after this weekend with all the moves that have been made. You know, Trubisky's in Pittsburgh, so I guess take them off the quarterback list. Tampa Bay obviously doesn't need a quarterback anymore. Carolina's desperate for a quarterback, and you have it. And I'm still worried about Indianapolis going out and getting Matt Ryan if Atlanta were to make a trade for Deshaun Watson. So I am actually in favor of him going to the Saints and not in favor of him going to the Falcons because of the possibility. I'd much rather Jameis Winston, and I can't tell you why. I'd much rather Jameis Winston go to Indianapolis than Matt Ryan. I feel like if you got Matt Ryan on a team where he didn't have to be the alpha dog, I think he would be a great fit for him.
Who would be the alpha dog? Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah. You're going to turn around and hand the ball off, let us play defense, and then you just make the throws you need to make.
Well, if they're just handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor anyway, then why does it matter who's under center?
Because that part that I just said at the end, and you got to make the throws that we need you to make, that Matt Ryan can do. You know, there comes a point in time where you got to make some throws. Carson Wentz made one last year in a game against Arizona where it was the one good throw he had the whole night, and it was a freaking dandy into the back of the end zone that won them the game. And every person who covers the Colts was like, see, this is what we've been telling you about Wentz all along. See? And then Wentz went out and dropped the next 2 games. And, like, at some point you got to make throws, which is where Tannehill comes up short, is that Tannehill can make some throws against the Jets, but then when it comes to, like, in the playoffs, he just doesn't make any throws. So you lose. And that's why this year, I fully expect Titans to make the playoffs this upcoming season. And then I expect them to get in a game with a team that they're better than on paper, like, you know, Denver. And they get into a game with Denver, and all of a sudden, either Tannehill fumbles the ball at the wrong time, or Tannehill can't make the throw that you need to make to win the game, and you lose. And that's why I am expecting that to be the result from the Titans this year. Matt Ryan, if you don't make him make every throw, and in Atlanta, he's been throwing the ball about 48 times a game. If you don't make Matt Ryan throw, then I think Matt Ryan would help what they're trying to do. Now, the best fit for Matt Ryan, if Deshaun goes to Atlanta, is not Indianapolis. And this is where it could get weird. And I would root for this too. I think San Francisco would be the best fit for Matt Ryan. I don't think Shanahan likes Jimmy Garoppolo. As much as they get up at the podium and they talk about how they like Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think they like Jimmy Garoppolo. They've already drafted his replacement. They effectively benched him after the Titans game last year when they played Houston at home. They know that Jimmy screws up too much in big moments. They didn't like him last year. They're definitely not going to like him now. Well, Matt Ryan was the league MVP with Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator in Atlanta. And so if I'm Shanahan and I'm like, I know that I can put anybody back there to run the ball and be effective with my running schemes because it's worked. I've got a great offensive line, and I don't have any picks, so I'd have to include Jimmy in a deal to make this, to facilitate this. It'd have to be like a 3-team trade or something.
Which is fine because they want to deal him anyway.
Right, like just the fact that they would upgrade from Jimmy to Matt Ryan and then keep Trey Lance on the bench for a year behind Matt Ryan and then flip it and put Trey Lance out there and put Matt Ryan on the bench, or do whatever they want. They can cut Matt Ryan after this year. That would be, I think, best case scenario for San Francisco. And I think Ryan would do that to get 1 year with Shanahan to light it up and then go out and try to get one more contract at the end. So I mean, again, trying to decipher all this, where these guys are going to go. There are some teams, though. I would just say this. I don't really know any Carolina Panther fans. I guess Julian, who used to work here, was a Carolina Panther fan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get your hopes up if you're a Carolina fan that you're going to get Deshaun Watson. I know that he met with them, which honestly is a better step than what it was last year when Deshaun had absolutely zero interest in waiving his no trade clause to go to Carolina, even though David Tepper, the billionaire owner of the Panthers, just wanted him so badly. I just don't see why he'd want to play there. The team stinks.
Carolina doesn't have anything going for it right now.
The team has stunk for forever. The
Their
owner
coach
is
is
rich, but he's like too hands-on. The coach is a goober. I don't even know who the general manager is. Do they have any good young players on that team anymore?
I would say their biggest asset that they're willing to deal is Christian McCaffrey.
But that's not what I'm saying. I don't care about the
know.
trade. I'm Deshaun. I don't care about who you trade. I care about who you keep.
I don't know.
Like, do they have, like, who's their wide receivers? Like,
Robbie Anderson?
Who does Deshaun want to throw the ball to?
I don't know if DJ Moore is still there.
DJ Moore is a bad boy, though. But, like, I'm just saying, like, Carolina, ugh. Like, I just can't see him. Cleveland, I could see him going to Cleveland. Atlanta, I could definitely see him going to Atlanta. He's from Atlanta. You know, like, they got Kyle
got
Pitts.
some
They
pretty
got an
solid
offensive
receivers.
coach. Although, their wide receiving core is
Yeah,
not
without
very good.
Ridley and then Russell Gage,
Russell Gage went to
just
Tampa
left.
Bay.
So
Yeah.
their wide
that
receiver
is
core, besides Pitts, is a little weak sauce.
So, but I think that they would
But you get
figure
Deshaun,
out-
and you can build it up through the draft if this is such a deep wide receiver class like we're being told.
Well, they can't draft, though, because they would use all
They
those
would
picks
use
in
their
order to get
picks.
Deshaun.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part. I don't know how I feel about Atlanta. New Orleans, like, here's the thing about New Orleans. If Sean Payton were there,
oh, slam dunk.
and I think a lot of the times, a lot of these guys, like, have in their mind what New Orleans has been, so they just assume that New Orleans will be the same. And so, like, Deshaun's, in Houston where he doesn't like it, but he can go to New Orleans where he's seen New Orleans in the playoffs for, on and off for the last 15 years. But really, New Orleans was made by two guys, and they're both gone now. So would you really want to go to New Orleans? But I guess it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to go there. I just thought the three teams that he would be interested in going to that would have what I would want if I were the Texans are the Eagles, who we haven't really heard mentioned, the Cardinals, who would be the ultimate freaking stud-for-stud trade in the NFL, which I would absolutely love. Just a stud-for-stud. I love those trades. And then the Giants, which I figured he might, even though they're lousy, He might have interest in New York because he had interest in the Jets last year before everything went down. They got an offensive coach in Dable. And I think they have 2 top 10 picks. He was gonna, if you would go to the Jets, why wouldn't you go to the Giants? They both suck.
I know. I just don't like if all of your options are on the table. If you're saying no to Seattle,
now maybe he wants out of he would want out of the New York media market now with all the extra stuff.
I mean,
but I cannot.
I don't know if that's just specific to New York.
I could see him going to Cleveland. And I think Baker's gotten a bad deal in
Baker to
Cleveland.
Houston.
So I think Baker would not be part of the package that returns to Houston because I think they'd want something else. Like they would be like, well, we can give you Baker, we can give you all this. And like, no, we don't want Baker. I think Baker would then have to go somewhere like Indy to be the starting quarterback if he were to go to, and then they would use that to recruit the picks that they use.
About Baker and Indy.
I mean, I think Baker got a bad deal in Cleveland. I don't think Baker's as bad of a player as everybody's making him out to be. I think he got a bad deal. I think he should have been, a passenger, not a driver early in his career. But in Cleveland, they wanted him to be the driver because they picked him number 1. So they went out and they got him receivers who demanded the football and caused problems when they didn't get it. They put the offensive coordinator and his head coach when the guy was not able to run the entire operation. Things didn't go well. The blame got put on Baker. Then all of a sudden they got a new coach. They started running the ball. They had success. Then Baker got hurt. Then their schedule was tougher. Then they didn't win as many games. Then Baker got thrown back under the bus. I'm not saying Baker's the dude. I'm just saying I think Baker has gotten a bad reputation. Just like how everybody makes fun of Jameis Winston's turnovers, which are fair because he turned the ball over a lot in Tampa Bay, but they brought in a coach who literally encouraged Jameis to turn the ball over, unlike in New Orleans under Sean Payton last year when he threw 3 interceptions and won them 5 games. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Apparently, we have an update from NFL Network about what the plans for the Colts at quarterback are for next year. We'll get to that next. Right here on Stillman and Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I can see right now the TV feed for what's going to be tonight's Preds game. We're 3 hours, 41 minutes away from puck drop, and I can see that happy Hiller logo just smiling on that ice, looking right at me for what could be a big game. And it's smiling because Hiller is giving away free vacations for you and your family this month. With every purchase of a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems, Hiller is giving you a free week-long vacation. With every purchase of a new tankless water heater, Hiller is giving you a free weekend vacation, and they're giving you a Visa Rewards card to help pay for your gas to get you there. Choose from over 400 Marriott, Wyndham, Hilton, or Hyatt hotel properties. Take advantage of this unbelievable deal while you can because these deals are only available for a limited time, so make sure you schedule today. Visit happyhiller.com for all of the details. As always, happy you will be, or the service is free. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Titans on 3, 1, 2, 3. John Robinson and the Titans can now talk to free agents.
We're going to work through the process here, and there's guys in free agency who we're having some discussions with.
What's next for the two-toned blue?
Should they continue to address the defense?
Keep it locked to your home for the best Titans coverage.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We're offering some exciting new menu items. We have Grandma's famous chicken and dumpling soup. We're offering a fun and new exciting Nashville hot battered shrimp. We're also very excited about our confit chicken hash. Join us in Kitchen Notes for our award-winning patty melt made with our house-made pimento cheese, local Blackhawk Farms beef patty. Come join us in Kitchen Notes and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Lunch at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
The Metal Gods return. Judas Priest, 50 heavy metal years. The Priest. March 23rd, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Vengeance will be theirs with special guest Queensryche. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. Judas Priest. Live.
Join Planet Fitness now through March 16th and get the PF Black Card for zero enrollment and $22.99 a month. You'll enjoy an upgraded experience with tons of perks.
Like access to more than 2,000 locations worldwide?
Yep.
Super soothing hydro massage chairs?
Yes.
Can I bring a friend every time?
Sure.
Can my friend be a horse?
Nay. Get the PF Black Card and feel fit-tacular. Zero enrollment, $22.99 a month. Deal ends March 16th. See Club for details.
Hey everybody, Robby Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's as the neighborhood bar and restaurant to catch the next Preds game. Jasper's is located on West End Avenue and offers a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, and a large bar and lounge area. Plus, they offer free parking. That's right, free parking on West End, and offer specials for every Preds game day, including $10 smash burgers and $3 bottle domestics. So come on down to Jasper's next game day for happy hour every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. and 2-for-1 beers all day on Sundays. Just tell them that Robby Stanley sent you.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine, and general orthopedics. They accept walk-in and same-day appointments. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com or just walk in to Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Well, if they had to play a game today, Andrew, it would be their fifth different starting quarterback to start a season in the last 5 years, and that's what we're expecting, but we don't know who it's going to be. We know they shipped Carson Wentz off to the Commanders, and a big part of that was that the Commanders took $27 million, all of his contract. So they have more money to spend than anybody else in football. So you could look that they could spend to surround whatever quarterback they're trying to go after with some decent pieces. We know they went after to try to make themselves involved in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Obviously, the Texans did not want him going within the division. They are not an option there. Jimmy Garoppolo, they do have interest in, but it's an interesting piece because Frank Reich and Chris Ballard have made it very clear that they would like whatever quarterback that comes in and becomes their starter to be there during the offseason. Those are very important reps to Frank Reich in terms of developing a relationship with the receivers. We know Garoppolo can't throw until late June, early July. Does that mean he's out of the question? No, not by any means. But at the same time, that's something that you do have to remember because Garoppolo fits, Steve, exactly what they'd like to have happen. Chris Ballard said it emphatically. You got to take the layups as the quarterback. You don't make the mistakes. Play within Frank Reich's system. Those are all things that we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo do.
God bless insiders that don't have information. And I'm not knocking James Palmer there from the NFL Network, but it's like, what are the Colts going to do at quarterback? Well, I think it's important to remember that they got so-and-so to Washington to take on the big contract from Carson Wentz. So that allowed them to have extra money to spend at quarterback this year, and they have the most money in the NFL to spend in free agency, and so they want a guy to come in. Now, could it be Jimmy Garoppolo? It could be. Could it also not be Jimmy Garoppolo? It also could not be Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's something to keep in mind, Bob, that you have to take a look at, is that they are... So what's the plan for Indianapolis at quarterback?
Pretty much just stating what we already know.
So what is the plan for Indianapolis at quarterback? And I'm going to tell you, I think they're going to do what the Patriots did 2 years ago, which was Brady left and he went to Tampa Bay. And there were a bunch of quarterbacks out there. Jameis Winston ended up signing and being a backup. Andy Dalton ended up signing and being a backup. Marcus ended up signing and being a backup. And so I think there's a lot of guys out there right now. Trubisky was the first off the board going to Pittsburgh. But I think there's Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Andy Dalton, all of these guys. And I think what they're going to do is what the Patriots did, which was now they're going to stop short of where the Patriots, went, which is the Patriots literally waited till everybody was gone and then picked the last guy at league minimum, which was Cam Newton. So had it been Marcus that was the last guy left, they would have signed him, and Marcus would have been the starter for a year in New England. They're not going to do that, I don't think. What I think they're going to do is I think they are going to wait for the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes to play out. And then if there is at the end of that, and the draft maybe, at the end of that, whoever's still out there, that's who they'll go get. And they'll pay him. So, like, if it's Ryan, they'll pay Matt Ryan. If Atlanta ends up getting Deshaun Watson and then they've got to trade Matt Ryan to a team that needs a quarterback, Indianapolis will make a move for Matt Ryan. if it's another one, that's out there, say it's Jimmy, say it's they will make the trade. If San Francisco's like, hey, we're not going to trade Jimmy, which I don't believe is going to be the case, but let's say it is, that they're going to say we're not going to trade Jimmy, and Deshaun goes to New Orleans, then Jameis Winston's open, then they'll take him. And I think that's the route they're going. And if I were running Indianapolis, which I'm not, but if I were running Indianapolis, I would have Andy Dalton as my baseline of no matter what I do, it's got to be better than Andy Dalton turning around and handing the ball to Jonathan Taylor 30 times a game, because that would be my worst case scenario. Now, Indianapolis also does things differently than me, so who knows? But I have been surprised that we haven't seen Jameis Winston come off the board yet. I have been a little surprised that we haven't seen a little bit more movement talking about a Garoppolo trade or something like that, but maybe just like with the Aaron Rodgers situation, we waited for Aaron to fall, then Russell fell, then Carson fell. Now we're waiting on Deshaun. Now Brady was kind of its own entity, but now I feel like we're kind of waiting for Deshaun, and then we'll see movement on anything past that. Because then Carolina's going to need a quarterback, and a lot of these teams are going to need to, Seattle's going to need a quarterback, so a lot of these teams are going to need to pony up there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in there?
One texter texts in and says, Deshaun Watson lands in Cleveland, Baker's traded to the Colts, and Jimmy G to Carolina.
So I'm trying to follow this.
But where does that leave Houston?
So here's the problem with all of this, which is Houston's one of those weird teams where I don't think that they expect to compete anyways. So they could have Davis Mills be their starting quarterback and be fine with it. At least I think they could be fine with it.
If it's this season and they see someone next year's draft a quarterback and they want to draft a quarterback then, like, I don't think Houston's necessarily in win now mode.
No, but I think
and if
my
they push
bigger
it down
issue,
another season,
my bigger issue with all of that is I just don't see like the quarterback fits. So if you're going to go get a quarterback, you've got to get him by like next week. Like if you're going to get a quarterback that you want to be able to learn your offense and like be a master in your offense from day one, like you've got to get him like next week, really honestly before the draft, because that's when the voluntary program starts. And if you're going to be a quarterback, you got to be there the whole time.
Yeah.
You go back to Tampa Bay 2 years ago, Brady was the infamous story during COVID when everybody was, quarantining at home. Brady went over to Byron Leftwich's house and he walked into the wrong guy's house.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Brady was trying to learn, even though there wasn't an off-season program for him to learn. And then remember when everything was still like pretty shut down and Brady was organizing workouts at a private high school with all of his players. And remember, because the PA was mad and they were like, don't do that. Don't organize outside workouts. Don't do that. And Brady was like, screw that. And they still weren't very good at the beginning of the year. It was the end of the year when they were rocking and rolling. So if you're going to get a guy in, you're going to need to get that guy in like fairly soon just to learn your offense, or it has to be somebody who already essentially knows your offense. Baker doesn't know Carolina's offense. And if you were to make that, like, does Matt Rule or
Send Baker to Indianapolis.
Okay, Baker doesn't know that offense. Like, that's the Andy Reid offense. Stefanski comes from Minnesota. Like, that's the Andy Reid offense. So he'd have to have an entire offseason to learn it. So it would have to happen, like, it'd have to be bang, bang, and happen literally before the draft in order for all this to take effect. And the other part about it, too, even with the fake salary cap, is you'd have to, at some point, carry Baker at the same, like, you'd have to get a Baker deal done 5 seconds after you get a Deshaun deal done, because you can't carry the two salaries at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's straight up fire sale. Then it's like Baker for a sixth. Like, hey, we got to get rid of Baker right away. What will we take from him? Seventh. Okay, well, how about a fourth? No. Well, how about fifth? No. Okay, sixth. Because you got to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't
But
know.
you think that's a move that they would make without knowing in advance who would be in the market for Baker?
I don't know. It's tough.
It's hard because you're going to have to do a lot of communication.
I don't know.
Communication gets out.
Who, like, if Carolina likes Garoppolo, like, I don't know those things. So that's tough for me to sit there and say that they could fit, because these offensive coaches, I don't even know who the coordinator in Carolina is right now. So that would be tough for me to say yes or no to. What's next on that?
Another texter checks in and asks, would you take Matt Ryan over Tannehill?
All things being equal, yes, I probably would. Unfortunately, they are not equal. Now, he does know your offense because he played under Shanahan and currently plays under Arthur Smith. But I don't think, because all things are not equal, the, uprooting of Tannehill and installing of Ryan, the gain that I think that you would get from Matt Ryan as opposed to Tannehill isn't big enough to warrant any such move, because I just don't think that it's that big of a difference. Now, if this were 2016 Matt Ryan, yes, I would make that move right away. And maybe I'm dumb, because my biggest issue with Tannehill is the fact that Tannehill throws the ball to the other team in the most important spots, especially in the playoffs. Matt Ryan does struggle throwing the ball sometimes to the other team, but in the playoffs, Matt Ryan, even though he was the quarterback of the most epic choke in the history of the NFL, I don't look at Matt Ryan as a choker. Like, I look like Quinn and Shanahan blew that Super Bowl. And Matt Ryan should have never thrown that ball that he got sacked on, that fumbled, that gave the Patriots a chance to get back in that game. He never should have thrown that ball. That should have been a running play. And for some reason, I never hold it against Ryan that they lost that game. And maybe I'm just a jerk. I don't know. But I've never pinned it on Matt Ryan. I think Tannehill, when the moment gets tight, and I thought that 2020 season, or the 2019 play, I thought Tannehill, when the moment was tight, nothing fazed him. And now I'm convinced that when the moment's tight, Tannehill, he just doesn't. He just doesn't do it for me. He just doesn't. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your phone, 615-737-1025. The Predators got a big choice they got to make, and they got to figure it out really soon, and I don't know what they are going to do. I have no clue. And I'm not sure that the fans, you all, even understand how big of a deal this is, so we'll get to that coming up next. FanDuel Sportsbook, that's right, FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app, and the tournament begins tonight, and you got to take a shot on college hoops this March with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, because all customers will get a risk-free bet on the bracket. Just sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook to claim yours today. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action, and then you can bet on the underdog that you've had your eye on, or just going with the favorite. Either way, it's risk-free, and I have told you that St. Peter's, I had no idea who they were. I'd never heard of them. I don't know what conference they're in, and I have done no research since I saw them pop up on the screen as a 15 playing Kentucky. So put your money on Kentucky. And I'm a Louisville guy, so telling you to put your money on Kentucky probably tells you that, hey, I really believe in this bet. With the cash out option, the ball is in your court, so you can close out your bet whenever you'd like before the game is over. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook with the promo code JGM. If you already have an account, sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim your risk-free bet today. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $5. Offer is non-transferable and restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Temperatures warming to the upper 60s and lower 70s this afternoon under cloudy skies with scattered showers possible, especially as we head overnight.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Whether you're buying your first home or your forever home, you want a mortgage lender who can help you plan with certainty. For home loans that work for you, Rocket can.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Coach's Corner Sports Grill, nestled in Spring Hill, Tennessee, is your hometown sports bar. Coaches, players, grandparents, parents, kids, all are welcome. Hang out after a ball game or watch your team win on the big screens. Try their signature hand-patted burgers from the All-American to the X's and O's. Or choose something from the dog pound, such as their chili cheese dog. And don't forget to wash it all down with their 20-plus beers on tap. Coach's Corner Sports Grill, open every day with daily food and drink specials for lunch and dinner. Off Port Royal Road in Spring Hill. Online at coachescornersportsgrill.com.
Your home value is way up. You can use that money now to pay off credit cards or remodel your house, or both. Hey, Willie Donner for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can convert that home equity into cash as little as 2 weeks from now with no cost to you and zero hassle. Mike and Joan in Brentwood called Loan Pronto and they did a Loan Pronto zero cost cash out refi. They got a check for $100,000. They used $50,000 to pay off all of their credit cards and a car loan. Use the other $50K to upgrade their master bath and kitchen. They locked in a new APR in the twos and lowered their total monthly bills by hundreds of dollars. Hello? What are you waiting on? Call Loan Pronto now and convert your home value into cash. Put that money to good use. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780 or lowpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Inside knowledge on the Titans.
Todd Downey's got his notepad out right now, just writing things down. Ooh.
Inside knowledge on the Predators.
They can go right into the forecheck, and boom, you get a beautiful goal from Colton Sissons.
And then there's a team in Knoxville.
How excited should Tennessee fans be by what they've seen from Josh Heupel in year one?
Wake up and hang out with Robby and Rexrode. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and The Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
That guy who wears number 9, he keeps playing really well. 2 more goals in the win in Minnesota on Sunday night. 31 goals on the season. How's the dialogue been on that front?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm hoping to, in fact, talk again to his side today. It's the same situation. We both are saying the right things in terms of wanting to play here and us wanting to sign him. It's just we haven't reached the right number yet. It's as simple as that.
There you go. We just haven't reached the right number. It's as simple as that. David Poyle today on Darren, Donick, and Chase. And I got to tell you, David, time's up, babe. I mean,
Clock's a-ticking.
I hate to break it to you. The Predators have absolutely no leverage when it comes to Philip Forsberg. They have none. Because Monday's the trade deadline. They play on the road at Anaheim. And they got to make a decision. And they don't have to make the decision by Monday. They got to make the decision probably today. And here's the decision.
Why today?
Because if you try to trade a guy at the last minute, you're not going to get a full return for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's called a fire sale. And everybody loves fire sales because they're not paying full price. So you've got to make the decision today. Or if Philip Forsberg won't budge off of the deal that you have in front of him, are you willing to trade him? And I don't know what the answer for the Predators to that is. Deep down inside, I think the answer is no. I think the Predators are not willing to trade Philip Forsberg, which means that as long as they're at the number that they're at, and you're willing to accept that even though you absolutely, positively do not want to accept it, the terms or whatever it is, whether it's the number, the no trade provisions, who cares? Whatever it is that they want. Clearly, Poyle is not willing to say yes to that to them today. But in his heart, if he's willing to say yes to it next week, then you might as well go back to the ownership today and say, hey, it's going to be 8 years, $10 million per, and he wants a no movement clause. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what the sides are negotiating. You know, normally these guys start high, and then when the guy goes out and has the best season in the history of the team, that usually raises the number up even more. So if you go to ownership and you say, hey, it's going to be $925 on an 8-year deal, and he wants a full no movement. If ownership says we're willing to do that, don't let him get away, then you can keep that in your back pocket for about another 3 or 4 days, and then you got to make the decision. Because, again, Monday is the day in which you lose all leverage at that point, and then they're probably the deal that they're going to give you today they probably won't give. But another reason that you need to make the decision today is it's pretty serious when you tell the agent, okay, if you don't lower that, we're going to trade you. Because they still need time to go back and say, Philip, are you sure you want to go to the market on this? Because if you go to the market on this, you might be able to get 10 on a 7-year deal. You're not going to get an 8th year because you can't. And they may stick you in Calgary for, half the season. Mm-hmm. And you're not coming back to Nashville and whatever. And it's like, they're going to offer you 8 years at $8.85 right now with no movement clause, but they're going to do that right. That's what they're offering us right now. So if you want to stay in Nashville, take it because it's more than you'll be able to get on the open market, and there's no taxes, and you want to be here, and you like it here, and you're playing well here, and you like the coach. So the only leverage the Predators have right now is to trade him. That's it. And so if you're going to exercise the leverage that you have, you better decide today. You better decide today if that's the day that you want to tell Philip Forsberg's agent that, you know what, we're willing to trade. Because the no deal before the deadline with this organization, I do not think is an option. I do not think, and I would not hold this against Forsberg the way that everything was held against Ryan Suter and still is held against Ryan Suter here. Because, Ryan Suter said he wanted to resign, and then when push came to shove, Minnesota offered him that unbelievable contract, and he left. But it really did feel like he porked the Predators. I am not going to hold this against Philip Forsberg. If they do not get a deal done before the trade deadline, Philip Forsberg goes into free agency and signs a massive contract with the St. Louis Blues, and you have to see Philip Forsberg every year. I am not going to hold that against Forsberg. In fact, I'm going to tell you, Forsberg was telegraphing the whole year that's what he was willing to do. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Anything the Predators thought that they could negotiate as far as this deal was concerned before the season has now been multiplied because Forsberg has been out of his mind. And that what you would do to the team if you traded him would just be, it would be so detrimental.
Yeah, see, I don't know what it is, but ever since Forsberg has gone on this run, ever since he came back from injury, what was it, October, November?
Something like that.
I never got the vibe that the Predators ever wanted to trade him.
Well, they've said that they don't want to trade him.
I know what they've said, but even behind closed doors, I've never gotten the vibe that the Predators ever intended to trade him.
The reality of this is if you don't have the deal, you had to know that you had to know when you started negotiating and they probably asked for something that you were like, no, that you had to know that sometimes these deals don't work out.
That.
Sometimes these deals don't work. Look, Freddie Freeman, I freaking love Freddie Freeman. And I'm furious with the Atlanta Braves as an Atlanta Brave fan that we won the World Series, and Freddie Freeman is the glue that has held our organization together for a decade. And we just let him go. Because ultimately, I guess he wanted too much money, or we weren't willing to pay the money, or whatever. But we let him go.
But not getting anything for Forsberg in return is not an option.
They're not getting anything for Freddie Freeman. I didn't think that would be an option either. Like when they won the World Series and they had a parade and all the players got up and said, sign Freddie. I did not think it was an option to not have Freddie Freeman return. I guess, at the end of the day, they didn't think it was an option around here that Ryan Suter was going to leave as a free agent. It was. They didn't think it was an option that Shea Weber would sign an offer sheet with Philadelphia for a gajillion dollars. He did. I got to tell you, this whole I just can't see Forsberg wanting to go anywhere else. Well, guess what? Forsberg's been telling you the whole time he is totally happy going into free agency.
It's not Forsberg not coming
and hitting
back
the market.
Here. It's the fact if the Predators don't get anything in return for him, if they do decide to trade him, if Forsberg does ultimately end up wanting more and wanting to go to the market, that's fine. The Predators just have to get something in return for him.
So then you would trade him.
Yes, they can't just let him go to the market.
So then you would have to make...
That's what I'm saying is not an option for me.
So you would have to make that decision today. Because you've got 6 days. So if you're on the phone, like Poyle said today that he was going to be talking to Forsberg's agents today, to the midday show, he said that. Would you be on the phone saying, look, dude, if we don't get this, if you can't get this down, then we're going to have to start looking at a trade?
I think you'd have to.
Because that's the
you're
only
running out
leverage
of
you
time.
have.
I think they should have done that a long time ago.
Then you have to
You're
take
running out of time.
Then you have to not play him tonight. You have to. I mean, if you're going to start thinking about trading him and being serious about it, you got to take him out of the lineup.
What are your other options? If they're not willing to pay the money, or if they're not willing to do the deal that the agent wants, then you don't have an option.
So that's the other option. The other option is to give Forsberg what he wants. And that's what we don't know, is we don't know what's being at. We don't know what they're asking for. We don't know what Poyle's willing to accept. And that's where I'm like, could it be that that Poyle has gotten the green light? There's a Titans player who signed a contract, and I was told that midway through the negotiation, the Titans player was like, I'll take it. Sold. And that the agent was like, no. Like, let's wait on this for a second.
Not after all this.
Let's wait a little bit here and see where it goes and whatever. And then ultimately the player ended up getting the deal that they wanted to. And I think that there is probably some truth here that we will see out of the Predators, that like if they already know that they're going to take the offer that Forsberg's agent wants, even though it's going to be incredibly painful, then you don't have to threaten a trade, because at the end of the day you'll say yes. But then you really need to make that decision now if you're willing to take it, and you need to go ahead and get that wrapped up, or else risk the fact that on Monday they could say, well, we're not really interested in that deal anymore. We're going to go to market. So I don't know. The Predators, the Predators have gotten so played by Forsberg here. But you got to tip your cap, because Forsberg went into the season like, I'm going to go out there and light it up, and then I'm going to go get my money, and he's lit it up. And I just don't know. Him and Deshaun, they're both going to score 40 goals this year. I just don't know how you trade Forsberg and then try to sell it to the fans like, get your season tickets. It probably is best interest in the fans, for the long-term element of the team, that if they can't get a deal with Forsberg, that you then do this. But, it's still a really tough pill to swallow. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. What in the world is the Titans' plan? I'm starting to struggle with it. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, and I'll tell you why. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Did you see the Tennessee Titans? He has all the weapons to make it happen. There's so much to pay attention to.
Greeny from 9 to 11.
Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected player.
Art and Hahn from 11 to 2.
You never stop punching. They've got to learn how to close the deal.
And the Paul Feinbaum Show afternoons from 2 to 6.
Are these legitimate contenders to the party?
Your exclusive home for ESPN Radio in the Music City.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Proud to announce that they have won the Top Gun Award for the best Pella sales organization in the U.S. They have the best culture, best customer satisfaction, and best growth in the business. To celebrate, Pella is offering their amazingly affordable products at 0% financing with no payments for 12 months. Do you need new doors or windows? I suggest you shop with Nashville's Pella experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Care has the power to bring kindness where it's needed. It brings out the best in every one of us. It doesn't just see people, it takes time to understand them. It puts the needs of others ahead of its own. And when you start with care, you end up with a very different kind of bank. Truist. Truist Bank, member FDIC.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high-quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands, including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and when I'm out with my friends, my go-to is Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It can be served as a drink or a shot, and it's always a hit with the crew. Screwball is the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world, made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter. You can learn more about them by visiting screwballwhiskey.com, and do like me when you're out and about, ask for it by name at your favorite bar. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. We've brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, and pendants. We have the styles and looks on every woman's wish list, things you can't find anywhere else. And for 2022, Genesis is now offering a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular styles in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2022 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and Luxury Pre-Owned Rolex Timepieces, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. We are live at Bridgestone Arena where the Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. So I got a question that I don't even really know the answer to, which is on Friday's show. What was the one thing that we started out beginning telling the people about, which was more of a report than it was an opinion? Do you remember what it was Friday?
Florio?
Nope. Ian, what was our lead topic Friday?
No splashy moves for the Titans.
Bingo!
That's right.
That we told you the Titans, we had heard that the Titans were not going to be making any splashy moves and that they considered Harold Landry to be their big addition in free agency. And then I threw a fit because I don't get excited about keeping your players. I get excited about adding new players. Now, again, I think the teams that go out and spend the most money in free agency on guys who aren't really that good are always the same teams every year. It's always the Raiders, the Jets, the Browns. This year it's the Jags. Washington does it. The Giants. You know, they'll go out and spend all this money on all these free agents. The Jets will. And those guys will never do anything. I saw C.J. Uzomah from the Bengals, who would not have been probably a bad tight end for the Titans to look at. I saw the Jets sign C.J. Uzomah from the Bengals, and immediately I went and wished him some serious T's and P's because he went from, you know, the worst organization in the NFL to the Super Bowl with that organization to what is probably the second worst organization in the NFL. Now, he got $24 million supposedly. You know, how much of that's real, who knows. But, again, like, go enjoy going back to, you know, nobody will ever remember what happened to C.J. Uzomah. But what are the Titans going to do here in free agency? Like, I get the idea that they had warned us ahead of time, you know, that we got the vibe from inside the team that they were not going to be making any splashy moves. That was the vibe we got. We reported that vibe. We talked about what we thought about that vibe. But splashy moves and signing a legitimate tight end, not Jeff Swaim, to $3.5 million, but signing a legitimate tight end, like, that is not splashy. That is, like, you know, common freaking sense.
That's just what you need to do to build up this team.
Signing a right tackle is just common sense. And so here we are today. The Titans have kept their pass rusher, kept their center, given their punter a pay cut, signed an offensive lineman who does not start. Now, he might start here, but the idea that you're going to take some guy off the trash heap and bring him in here to start at right tackle is not something that I feel very comfortable with. And they kept their tight end, who should not be tight end one on any team and would not be tight end one on any team in the league. And they kept him for $3.5 million. Now, they released Jack Rabbit Jenkins. I don't think that's a big deal. They'll be fine. But what are they doing? They still don't have a punt returner, kick returner.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't have really a slot wide receiver, because I'm not doing the whole, well, they think Nick Westbrook-Akina can be. I'm not doing that. So they don't have a slot receiver. They don't have a right tackle. They don't have a starting tight end. They don't have a kicker. And they don't have a second-round pick. They don't have a backup running back. We haven't even talked about that because they haven't gotten Deontay Foreman back. So they don't have a backup running back.
Can we assume that's the move that is going to be made?
Now, I'm not assuming anything. Tomorrow, free agency is official. And while the salary cap is not real and all the money you can screw around as long as the owner is willing to write a check, which so far, Amy Adams-Strunk looks like she's been willing to write the check for. As long as you got to know, I think the Titans spent the 6th most amount of money in the NFL last year. I think the Rams were 5th. So if you're willing to spend that kind of money, then I'm not going to doubt that Amy Adams-Strunk is not willing to spend the money. I just don't know what their plan is. I just don't know. It'd be one thing if it was like, hey, we're not going to be involved in any of the high-price guys, Jared. So we're going to give it a couple of days, and after the high-price guys, we're going to go out and we're going to sign a starting tight end, but it's going to be a discount tight end. Now, it's going to be better than Jeff Swaim, but it's going to be a legitimate starting tackle. We're going to sign a right tackle. You know, we're not going to pay top of the market money. Might be a guy who's a little bit of an injury risk, but we're going to sign a starting right tackle. And still, all these things could be done. But even the discount guys are starting to go off the shelf. Teddy Bridgewater has signed in Miami to be the backup. You know, you see some of these names that are signing around the league. You know, I really wanted Khalif Raymond to come back. And the Lions have signed Khalif Raymond back. So what is the plan? And that's what is bothering me. I mean, kicker, right? Like right now, you've got your choice of kicker between here's who, according to Spotrac, here is who are the free agent kickers. Greg the Leg Zerline, Big Randy, Randy Bullock, Nick Folk from the Patriots. And I think Nick Folk has actually done a pretty good job kicking the ball.
I thought he went back to the Patriots.
Maybe he did. I'm just reading off this website. The Money Badger, who kicked one game here, Michael Bagley, and got cut. Mm-hmm. Sam Ficken, who got hurt. Sam Ficken would have been the Titans kicker if he hadn't gotten hurt, and I don't know what happened last year. But he was in Tampa Bay when I was at practice. He was drilling the ball through the uprights. Joey Sly, whoever the hell that is.
Don't know who that is.
Eddie Pinheiro from Florida with the Jets. I don't think he's very good. Matt Gay, who kicked for the Rams last year, is a free agent. And Chase McLaughlin from Cleveland is a free agent. I don't know if he's any good either. But, I mean, seriously, like, where are you getting the kicker for? Like, who's going to kick next year? And I look at other teams in the league, and while everybody that's a good team for the most part has been focused on keeping their own free agents more so than anything else, like the Packers and whatever, like at least look at Tampa Bay. They had the entire center of their offensive line was going to be gone. Their entire interior offensive line. Ryan Jensen was a free agent. Alex Kappa was a free agent. And Ali Marpet retired. So they didn't have any interior offensive linemen. They lost Antonio Brown in the passing game last year, and Chris Godwin was scheduled to be a free agent. So what has Tampa Bay gone out and done? Tampa Bay went out and they re-signed Aaron Stinney, their backup guard, to come in and play one of the guard spots. They traded for Shaq Mason from the Patriots, a guy Brady is familiar with, to come in and play the other guard spot, and they signed Ryan Jensen, the center, to a bunch of money. So that whole giant hole that they didn't have, they fixed it. Then they brought back Chris Godwin on the franchise tag, and they lost Antonio Brown to his own craziness. Well, they just went and signed Russell Gage, who was a very productive receiver last year for the Falcons. They just signed Russell Gage to come in and take Antonio Brown's spot. So now Tom Brady, for the most part, we'll see what happens with Gronk, but I assume that he's going to go back to Tampa Bay and play tight end. that next year Brady will go out there with 5 starters on the offensive line, the big money left tackle, the first-round pick right tackle, the big money center, a guy from the Patriots at right guard, and their backup that's going to graduate who started in the Super Bowl, and they're going to have him start at guard. Offensive line, fine.
Done.
Receiver, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, done. Tight end, assume they bring Gronk back. They've got Cameron Brate, I believe. Done. There you go, Brady. Knock them dead. Like, what are the Titans doing? What do the Titans have at left guard right now? I don't know. What do the Titans have at right tackle right now? I don't know. What do the Titans have at tight end right now?
Jeff Swaim.
A guy who catches the ball and falls down every time. He has no, like, that is freaking practice squad level crap. Like, Jeff Swaim is not a backup. He is a practice squad guy, and they're giving him $3.5 million. What do the Titans have in the slot right now? I mean, are the Titans going to keep Julio Jones next year after June 1st? I don't know. Like, at least on defense, and this is where I'll give credit, at least on defense right now, and it doesn't look like they've cut Zach Cunningham or going to cut Zach Cunningham, though I would for the $10 million. But they are going to have a solid, right now their defense is fine. And for the people out there after they cut Jack Rabbit today that would be nervous saying, well, who's going to play that spot? Caleb Farley will go into that spot, and you would be nervous about that because the guy hasn't played football in 3 years. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that the Titans are prepared for Chris Jackson to play that spot if Farley can't go, or they could go sign another Buster Screen that could come in here and play, and they'll be fine. They got 2 safeties, they got corners, they got, their front
the defensive
back,
line.
They got their middle linebackers. They're fine. Like the Titans on defense. Offensive line, what the hell are they going to do? Tight end, what the hell are they going to do?
Receiver.
Kicker, what the hell are they going to do? Punt returner, what the hell are they going to do? And so I'm sitting here looking at the Titans. I'm like, what are they going to do?
Well, I asked Corey Curtis one day, I think when you were gone, I said, what is the Titans' plan? Like, in free agency, do you think the Titans could look at a kicker? And Corey Curtis said, well, they never do that. And I said, well, maybe the Titans should start looking at doing something differently.
Should be time to
maybe this is now time to switch things up with the way that you look at kicker, because this team, this franchise, is notorious for being on the kicking carousel. So maybe what you've done in the past should change?
I don't know. How concerned should people be about this? About the fact that they haven't done anything?
And I know a lot of people just scoff at kicker and say, we'll figure it out.
But I'm talking about everything.
I know.
I mean, yeah, I'm worried about kicker too.
It's the same with tight end. It's the same with tight end. It's the same with receiver. Oh, they'll draft one. With what, their first and third picks? Then you're getting into the nitty-gritty in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round of those guys that you're just picking up off the trash heap and hoping that they can be depth pieces.
I do not think the Titans can take a risk on drafting a tackle to start this year. I think that their track record of not being able to draft guys ready to start at tackle would make me incredibly uncomfortable with the belief that whoever they draft this year could come in at tackle, and they are not picking high enough to be able to take somebody that can start right away. So I don't know. And then what about the quarterback? What about Desmond Ridder? Okay, so well, now you can't draft a quarterback because you just didn't go out and get any free agents to play these spots. So I don't know. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And there's one position that, I mean, seriously, they got to get filled. Like, it needs to be filled by tomorrow. And I'll explain what that is next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let's give away some Preds tickets later today in the show. I will let you know when we do that, but we will be giving away a pair of Preds tickets later on today in the show. And let me tell all the fine folks to join 1025 The Game Thursday night for the Preds Bud Light Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade. Drink specials, enter to win Preds tickets, and watch Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers. It's the Preds Bud Light Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade, located at 114 2nd Avenue South downtown, and the puck drops at 6 o'clock Thursday night.
Play hooky with the game and watch all the games at New Heights Brewing on Thursday and Friday, March 17th and 18th. We'll be broadcasting live, and there'll be beer and basketball all day. Enjoy food from the local distro and try beers from the Tap Truck Nashville and New Heights Brewing. A portion of proceeds from beer sales will go to Metro Animal Care and Control. So come play hooky and give back at New Heights Brewing, powered by Wager, the new gaming app where you challenge your community, not the house.
The 2022 Major League Soccer season is officially here, and the Nashville SC Stadium nearly complete. Don't miss Nashville SC's home opener May 1st. Grab a seat at NashvilleSC.com/22ticks.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
It's Markdown Madness at Electronic Express. Bring the tournament to your living room with 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. Computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Markdown Madness is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Take a shot on college hoops this March with a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account, because all customers get a risk-free bet on this bracket. Just sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim yours today. New to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can bet on that underdog you've had your eye on, or just go with the favorite. Either way, it's risk-free. And considering that I just heard about St. Peter's for the first time, I'm going to take Kentucky to go ahead and knock the daylights out of them. And with cash out, the ball is in your court, so you can close your bet whenever you want before the game is over. There's no better place to bet on the tournament than the FanDuel Sportsbook app with the promo code JGM. Or if you already have an account, sign into FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet today. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $5. Offers non-transferable. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Jim Gaffigan Live in the Fun Tour.
When you have kids, you lie to them all the time. You're like, you wouldn't like this ice cream. It's very spicy.
March 30th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Hey everybody, Robby Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's. Jasper's is a casual restaurant and bar located on West End Avenue, equipped with TVs, a game room available for private events, a grab-and-go market, and free parking. Yes, free parking. This neighborhood spot is Nashville's new go-to restaurant and bar. You can try their selection of elevated bar food ranging from appetizers to chicken sandwiches to flatbread pizzas and the famous Smash Burger, as well as any of their delicious cocktails. So visit my friends at Jasper's, located at 1918 West End Avenue, and tell them that Robby sent you.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Before you get to the draft, though, there's a lot to journey through. Free agency starts. When can fans start to really see some of that stuff start to pick up and see some movement out of the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start, free agency will be here in a couple weeks. We're having some talks now with our current players. They'll start that window when we can talk to, representatives for other players on other teams. We'll see kind of how the market unfolds, on a lot of those players. And, that will really dictate how quickly we jump out of the gate, or we just kind of sit back and wait and let the market kind of come to us.
There you go. That was J-Rob at the Combine. Now free agency is approached, and we know the answer. They're not jumping out. And I gotta say this, because there's one position that I don't have any more time for the Titans to screw around with, and that is right tackle. So I get the idea of not bringing Quessenberry back. Remember, our free agency plan that we did on the show on Friday did not include bringing David Quessenberry back. The Titans are going to go ahead and let him test the market tomorrow and see if anybody would like to pay him money. And if they wouldn't, they'll probably bring him back as a backup. But he is not a starting right tackle. And so the reality is the Buccaneers went out and they got their center, and they've got starting tackles, and they traded for another starting guard, and now they're elevating one guy at the guard position. And I could live with that at left guard Roger Saffold's spot. So, for example, using the Titans If they wanted to put Dylan Radins as the starting left guard next year or Aaron Brewer as the starting left guard next year, well, I don't know if either of those guys are starters. It's right guard or left guard. They'll be fine. What is not acceptable is a non-starter at right tackle. And so if that means Brian Bulaga, who used to be on the Packers for all those years and is now with the Chargers, now he's been hurt the last 2 years, which would make me cautious because bringing in a hurt guy doesn't do you any favors if the guy stays hurt. See Julio? Fine. If it means going out and bringing back Dennis Kelly, fine. If it means Marcus Cannon, who the Texans cut yesterday, who for the most part in his career has been a solid right tackle, fine. Tim Kelly knows him. He's a Patriot guy, which means he could come in here and play right tackle as long as they can start. I have said I would pay the money for Morgan Moses, the tackle from the Jets, because that guy starts a lot. But I don't care. Whomever. As long Eric Fisher from the Colts, who played left tackle last year, bring him in to play right tackle. Took him a while coming off that Achilles injury, but I think he's still a pretty good player. Dwayne Brown's 800 years old from the Seahawks, but he's been a really good player in his career. Bring him in. I don't care. I don't care. Just get a right tackle. And I have told this story, but I want to tell it again because it's important. Because I need John Robinson to hear this, which is 6 years ago when I was first starting out and I first met Floyd and I was trying to make small talk, and this was when they were terrible and Ken Wisenhunt was the coach, and this was a team that Floyd would go on to say was the worst collection of talent he'd ever seen in his 40 years of the NFL. And I was making small talk with him, and I said, Floyd, are the Titans going to be good this year? And he said, looked at me and he goes, we don't have a right tackle. I'm like, pretty big deal, huh? Well, last year the Titans didn't have a right tackle. They thought Lamb could be the guy. They thought Sambrilo could be the guy. They thought Radins could be the guy. All three couldn't because they were all backups. So they had Quessenberry, a backup play. He was horrible in pass protection and honestly overrated as a run blocker. Good guy, solid backup, but he is not a starting right tackle. The Tennessee Titans need a right tackle. And I will say this in defense of Tannehill. You got to give him some help on the offensive line. Everything else, if you want Swaim to catch the ball and fall down, fine. It drives me nuts.
As long as he catches it.
But you got to get a right tackle. Not having a right tackle is not an option. Not having a left guard, that's an option. Not having a right tackle or a left tackle, not an option. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Adam is going to kick us off this hour. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Adam.
Man, you're doing a really good job with this stuff today, actually, man. I'm proud of you. So I'm actually happy that they're not spending money. I feel like the whole reason that you can't afford to do anything right now is because you've had bad free agents. And
no, Adam.
No, it's Clowney and it's Julio or it's even Jackrabbit. He wasn't as impressive as he could have been. I don't like people who spend a bunch of money in free agency. We just don't do that very well.
Okay. So I'm going to explain something. Thank you for your call, Adam. The New Orleans Saints, for years and years and years, have had the worst cap situation. Like every year, it's the same old thing, which I'm kind of getting tired of hearing this analogy. Well, they go ahead and kick the can on down the road, whatever. I'm kind of getting tired.
But they do.
But I'm getting tired of that, like everyone's saying they kick the can. I'm just so tired of that. Like, I'm not even sure people know exactly what that means. Because
you just push it.
In previous CBAs, kicking the can down the road had consequences, that eventually there was a road. And when that road came and the credit card statement came due, then you had to cut Derek Mason and Eddie George and Samari Roll and Kevin Carter and all those players the Titans had to cut in the mid-2000s. You had to cut them because that was a real cap, and that had real consequences. This, as long as the owner's willing to write the check, it doesn't matter. You can I talked to a buddy in Kansas City who does local radio there. I texted him. I said, do you believe in the salary cap at all? And he said, I've always said, there is not one player that you can't fit in your cap with some simple bookkeeping. But eventually you have to write the check with the guaranteed money. The Chiefs had 50% of their cap problems in the past year, and Frank Clark, Anthony Hitchens, Chris Jones, and Tyrann Mathieu. They kept restructuring and eventually had to write a check last year because of the cap situation they have this year. And you can restructure any 1 year. You can restructure and spread all the money out, but you can't do that the next year. Like with Chris Jones, it's a $30 million cap hit. He goes on. Basically, as long as you're willing to write the money up front, you can do it. Now, you can't do it to the same guys every year. You become Matt Ryan, but you can do it. But the Saints have all these cap problems, and the Saints are the favorites, according to Ian Rappaport, though. What the hell's he know? They are the favorites, according to Ian Rappaport, to land Deshaun Watson. A $40 million quarterback.
Because they'll figure it out.
It's because she wants Gail Benson to write the checks.
And they'll push it down, and they'll push it down until the cap inevitably explodes, and then the Saints are no longer in cap jail.
The only problem that any of these teams will run into is in 10 years from now when they change the CBA, because the poor teams will not want to do this. But right now, these players, like if you're Matt Ryan, do you have a problem with getting all of your money up front and the team having to pay you next year?
Absolutely not, which is what we always kind of giggled at Kevin Byard's comments.
If I have to redo
I'm
my
willing
contract.
to redo my contract to keep Tannehill, or was it Tannehill?
Landry.
To keep Landry, then I'll do it. Okay, well, that's really awfully nice of you to take $15 million up front.
Yeah, to give me
Thanks
my
for
money
that.
up
I'll
front.
do that too.
So kind of you.
I appreciate that.
What do we have in the text line?
Ron texts in and says, I think the best tight end for the Titans to get that is left in free agency is Jared Cook. He's been a good, productive tight end just about every year, and he would be great for this offense. O.J. Howard can't stay healthy, and we don't need to get another guy to just pay while they're riding the bench because of injury.
Sold. Fine. Get Jared Cook. I like Gerald Everett more than Jared Cook, but I don't care. Get the other one. Just get a starter.
But O.J. Howard isn't always hurt. O.J. Howard played every single game this past season.
Isn't the problem with O.J. Howard that he's just not very good?
I think that's more the problem than injury.
That people think that O.J. Howard is good, but that O.J. Howard isn't good.
I think
and
people think O.J. Howard
good,
is good because who is throwing him passes?
Well, like if you're not good in an offense where Tom Brady is constantly pushing the ball, and if you look back at Brady's tenure, he loves the tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Gronk.
just means that you're just not very good. Like, and so that's my vibe on Howard. Maybe he is. I mean, he's a great college player, but I haven't followed what he's done in Tampa Bay. My
played
guess
all
is,
17 games last season.
How many
Played in
catches?
4 the year before. He had 21 targets, 14 receptions, 135 yards.
I mean, like Anthony Ferguson had better stats than that.
Well, I mean, he's also splitting.
So the
he's
bigger
also
problem,
splitting targets with Gronk.
Yeah, well, Anthony Ferguson didn't play in half the games and sucks. I think the bigger issue here is that O.J. Howard just might not be very good. But, I mean, fine. Jared Cook.
But
fine.
Jared Cook is fine.
Sold. 615-737-1025. Trevor Maddich. He knows the draft. I am going to try to figure out if there's a logical explanation for the Titans sitting on their hands and not getting at least a starter at right guard, a starter at tight end, as free agency's rolling, and even the bottom guys are getting some contracts. TriStar Moving, those are my official movers. I absolutely love them, and I've been telling you about TriStar Moving for a while, and there's a reason why. Not only because when I moved with them, they were the best, but because they are, in fact, 100% hands down the best moving company in all of Middle Tennessee. And a lot of people don't believe me or trust me, just like with the salary cap, but just go ahead and check out all of the hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google that back up that opinion. That's right. They get so many 5-star reviews because of the excellent service they provide. They start with the estimate where they will come out to your home and give you a quote right then and there. They've got a great administrative staff that will work with you and keep you in the loop up until the big day, and they've got the best moving professionals in the business. I have sent tons of people their way, and everyone comes back and they're like, thank you for telling me about TriStar Moving, including my cousins, including a lot of my friends. A buddy of mine not only moved himself, but his dad moved with TriStar. He's like, thank you for telling me about TriStar. Get a bid from them. Their owners, Garrett and Robert, are Nashvillians, just like me and you, and they want to make their city proud. So give TriStar Moving a call and get that move and be happy, and then you'll be just like me and telling everybody how they are by far the best. So give them a call. Not a hot take. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219. Or visit their website at nationalmoving.org/radio, where you'll get your personal discount on me. That's right, 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219. nationalmoving.org/radio. Tell them I sent you for 5% off your entire move. And again, that's that personal discount on me. So maybe I'll be the one writing the check for that 5% discount of your move. Maybe. That's TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Every Wednesday at 6, we go behind the glass with current and former Predators players, along with coaches and broadcasters for Nashville Nashville Live.
Yost, Hal, and I were just talking about last night's game. It was a big game for us.
Presented by New Amsterdam Vodka, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and Red Spirits and Wine on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Hey, it's me, Chase McCabe, and listen, you know that I love BetMGM. I use it all the time, and I talk about it all the time. They are the king of sportsbooks, and they unleash the spirit of Las Vegas with BetMGM rewards. Every time you make a wager at BetMGM, you can earn BetMGM rewards points that you can redeem for online bonus credits like free bets and risk-free tokens. If you're planning a trip to Vegas, like I am, you can also convert your BetMGM points into MGM rewards points that you can use towards dining, shows, and hotel rooms at over 20 MGM Resorts properties located on the Las Vegas Strip and nationwide. BetMGM Rewards is sports betting's premier loyalty program featuring exclusive offers, incredible experiences, and valuable perks when you wager on the BetMGM app. Sign up with BetMGM or log on today and get an even bigger piece of the action with BetMGM Rewards. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
It's watching the top players take the ice. It's hard-fought games that end in victory. It's showing your favorite team to your favorite people. Secure your seats for the 2022-23 Nashville Predators season today to ensure you never miss a game at Bridgestone Arena. Plus, enjoy Nashville locker room discounts, exclusive presale offers, and more. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Join the Loyal Legion today and paint the town Preds. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
Tonight.
And a two-hand dunk by Scottie Pippen Jr.
Vanderbilt opens the NIT with a hometown matchup against Belmont.
Back the other way, Shepard with the layup.
Coverage begins at 5:30 on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company live from Bridgestone Arena. Right now it's free agency season. You got to give the NFL credit. They got the pre-free agency period with the franchise tags and everything else and the re-signing guys. Then they got the legal tampering period, which is essentially the start of free agency. Then they got real free agency, which technically starts tomorrow. And then once that all dies down, they'll take a little bit of a break here and there, and then it'll be the draft. And so the pro days will pick up, and then the Mel Kiper Juniors will be all over the place, and then we'll all be having to deal with that. And you do wonder, as far as the Titans' lack of activity, which is just driving me bananas, you have to wonder deep down inside how much of this is tied to the draft. So again, if we're following our Titans needs chart, which we came up with yesterday, which we came up with on Friday, the Titans now actually have a need at corner, which we forgot to add, but the Titans have a need at tight end 1, because I don't count Jeff Swaim, though they probably do. The Titans have a need at tight end 1. They have a need at right tackle. They have a need at offensive guard to replace Roger Saffold. They have a need at corner to replace Jack Rabbit Jenkins. They got a slot receiver. They need a kick returner, a punt returner, and a kicker. And a lot of the guys that I wanted them to go sign, like Dustin Hopkins, who re-signed with the Chargers, or Isaiah McKenzie, who re-signed with the Bills, or Aaron Stinney, the guard that re-signed with Tampa Bay. A lot of those guys have been swallowed up by their own teams, and the Titans have done nothing except for add a backup offensive lineman. Add a backup offensive lineman. That's pretty much it. And Jeff Swaim, who's not a starter. Trevor Maddich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst. So, Trev, I want to ask you this question. Knowing what the Titans need and knowing that perhaps they could be looking at using their first-round pick at quarterback, my question for you is, do you think the Titans need to plug some of these holes in free agency before they get to the draft? Or is the draft deep enough for them to be able to do this without spending free agent dollars?
No, not if they want to count on getting guys that can come in and help them in the next 2 years. They're going to have to spend some money on free agency, or at least they're going to have to scout really well, better than everybody else in free agency. I would say this. One of the needs they have is a pass-catching tight end, and I get it that Swain is not an electrifying guy with the ball in his hands, right? He can catch a little bit, but he's a pretty good blocker, but he's there for depth, basically. And the tight end group has a couple of guys that are really interesting from a standpoint of a risk if you scout well enough to feel like you know more about what that risk is than other teams do. And one guy I look at in the tight end position is O.J. Howard out of Tampa. O.J. Howard was a first-round draft choice out of Alabama, and I thought he was going to be really a fantastic pass-catching tight end in the league. And he's never really lived up to it. And you've got to ask yourself why. Why hasn't he been that guy? Is it because he just won't be because he's mentally soft? Or have there been other issues that he's had to deal with that have kind of limited his production? And so a guy like that, Tennessee could get in free agency and wouldn't have to break the bank like you would with a Zach Ertz type of guy at tight end. And so, you can fill out some of those needs if you're really smart and make the right calls without having to spend too much money. Then you can use that draft stock on other guys, and they just don't have a whole lot of draft capital. So, I think they need to go with free agency, but they need to do it in a way that they bring in guys that aren't going to be terribly expensive, that'll still give them upgrades in the positions of need that you mentioned.
Trevor, what really bothers me about the Titans right now is the right tackle position. And maybe it's because I worked with a guy who not having a starting tackle was not an option when he was general manager in the NFL. You're an offensive line guy. David Quessenberry, who the Titans are not even going to tender as a restricted free agent for $2 million, they're not going to bring him back. He was their starting right tackle last year because they whiffed on Radens. They whiffed on Isaiah Wilson the year before in the draft. They whiffed on a free agent signing in Kendall Lamb. I am concerned that if the Titans don't put serious dollars towards right tackle, that this could be a mess. And we talk about putting Tannehill in position to have success. I do think that tackle is a position where you've got to invest if you want to help the quarterback. And for some reason, Trev, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not sure the Titans are willing to do that. As a former offensive lineman, how concerned are you with their lack of commitment to right tackle over the last couple of years?
If it's a lack of commitment, then I think you've got an issue. But remember, they drafted Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia, and he ended up not panning out. Then they drafted Dylan Radunz, and he is still very much a work in progress. So I think they've allocated resources, but they haven't picked the right guys necessarily. Radunz still has a chance to really step up and be who they thought that he would be. As an offensive lineman, though, I will tell you that without the way the Tennessee plays the game, without a stout, nasty physical offensive line, it just won't work. You go back a couple of years ago when they were playing the Chiefs in the playoffs, and they came out and just smashed the Chiefs early with Derrick Henry. Then the Chiefs came up and stuffed Henry and forced Tennessee to throw over the top in order to win, while Mahomes came back and built up a lead for the Chiefs. And remember that they were unable to throw the ball down the field and have the passing game make up for the lack of the running game because the defense took the running game away, right? And so you need to have a running game here that makes up for the lack of an elite passing attack, especially if you want to get out of the AFC with the elite quarterbacks and receiver combinations that you're going to have to get past in order to make it to the Super Bowl. They're not going to do it. I know you don't like Tannehill at all. You want to bounce him out of here and bring in somebody else. I get it. The receiving core is not what it needs to be from either a health or depth standpoint, depending on how you want to look at them. But all that stuff kind of is okay if they're not the ones carrying the load. The running game needs to carry the load. The offensive line needs to be that, lead the way. And at right tackle, I heard you mention Morgan Moses. So he's another example of a guy that could be an interesting, whether it's him or somebody else, a short-term rental to bring in while you're trying to develop a Radunz or draft the guy and get him ready to go. And Moses is just massive, absolutely massive. He envelops opponents. And he's not the greatest pass blocker in the world, but his arms are so long, it takes a long time to run around the guy. And as a run blocker, he doesn't really need to mash you off the ball. He'll just swallow you up. And then Henry comes flying by, and his guy is trying to do arm tackles. And so he's the kind of guy that will be very inexpensive, relatively, but who will bring the nasty, bring a lot of experience. I mean, last year he was supposed to be a backup for the Jets, but Mekhi Becton got hurt at right tackle, so he ended up starting like 15 games.
Well, you
got the
covered him in
experience.
Washington. I mean, do you think that he fits? Trevor Maddich, our guest, do you think he fits kind of the Vrabel mentality of the way this team plays?
Yeah, because Morgan Moses is a leader. He's a leader on the sideline, on the field, in the locker room. He's a natural alpha, and he's got a nasty streak on the field. He's one of those bell cow type of guys that would be that kind of bell cow immediately for the Titans. But again, it's not about Moses. It's about what the Titans need. And they had, kind of real marginal play last year at right tackle, and they still got the number 1 seed in the AFC. But the kind of guy that they need is the kind of guy that Moses is. Now, they'll have to make sure he's healthy enough and all that, and all the due diligence they'll need to go to. But this is another example of the Titans not necessarily having to break the bank for stars now in free agency when there are guys out there that can get them through a year or two and still allow them more cap space at other positions where they may need to break the bank. A wide receiver might be one of those positions.
Trevor Maddich is our guest, ESPN college football analyst, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters, what do you think about the wide receiver position? Julio Jones, Nick Westbrook-Akina, A.J. Brown, Des Fitzpatrick on the roster. I really wanted that Isaiah McKenzie of Buffalo, Trevor. I feel like the Titans need a speed guy and a guy who can be a kick returner as well. Can they hold off until the 3rd round of the draft for that, or do they need to figure that out now too?
Well, there's a couple guys out there that they could spend some money on in free agency. I mean, Jarvis Landry and Allen Robinson of the Bears are out there, and they'd be some interesting guys. But from a standpoint of the draft, yeah, this is one position where they will be able to draft a little bit later, as in 3rd round, maybe even 4th, and have a guy or maybe 2 that far down that can compete that'll really be able to run. I mean, serious speed. And if they want to take a risk on injury, then you've got some of the guys that we've talked about in the past. I mean, Jamison Williams of Alabama is one of those guys, but I think he'll probably be gone in the 1st round before the Titans pick anyhow. Who would pick down later in the 2nd round that they could trade up to or farther back? Not for a punt returner, but George Pickens is a guy from Georgia who is coming off an ACL, who's a big, tall guy. When he's healthy, one of the best receivers in the SEC, but he will fall because of the injury. And there's so many other good receivers that will be taken ahead of him. Another one like that is John Mechie of Alabama. He's an outstanding receiver. I mean, he had more catches this last year before he and Williams got hurt for Alabama. He had more catches than Williams. Williams had more yards. But he was really the go-to for Alabama when it came to security blanket for the quarterback, and he's an outstanding blocking receiver. I mean, he's physical without the ball in his hand. The problem is he's coming off that knee injury also and might not be ready early in the season. So he's another guy, though, that could fall. So I'm not saying that the Titans need to be bottom feeders in the draft where they need to find guys that fall that other teams don't want up higher. I am saying that there are some real opportunities there to get guys that either have size or speed, and in some cases both, that they'll be able to draft, not having a 2nd-round pick right now, later on in the draft that'll still be there, because there are so many guys that ran such fast 40 times at the combine that a lot of wide receivers are going to be taken in this draft lower than they should be based on their actual talent and their ability to stretch the field.
Trevor Maddich is with us. There's some quarterback questions that we got to get to as the carousel is rocking and rolling, and the Titans are a part of that as well. Maybe as far as the draft's concerned. Trevor Maddich, Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mostly cloudy skies as we head into the evening hours for tonight, and a few showers trying to creep in from the south. We'll look for isolated showers on Wednesday, mostly cloudy, and highs topping off in the mid to upper 60s. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The 2022 Major League Soccer season is officially here, and the Nashville SC Stadium nearly complete. Don't miss Nashville SC's home opener May 1st. Grab a seat at nashvillesc.com/22ticks.
Need cash for that home improvement or want to finally be credit card debt free? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto can do it for you, whether you have a VA loan or a conventional loan. They're helping local homeowners convert their home equity into cash with zero closing costs. Willie Donick here. Listen, your home value is up. Let Loan Pronto tap that equity and get you the cash you need. Pay off high-interest loans. Start that home remodeling project. Veteran homeowners are really loving this because with a VA loan, you can tap 100% of your home's equity. That's a ton of cash. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They are doing loans with APRs in the 2s. And if you call now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call now to see what your options are. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Thinking about making a change? You've put in the years and had success, but ready for something more? Well, good news. Little Guys Movers is looking for folks just like you to own and operate their very own Little Guys Movers franchise. From Broadway to Brentwood to Mount Juliet, if you can hear my voice, there's an affordable, profitable Little Guys franchise opportunity nearby. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Join a team with 30 plus years of growth and good times. Learn more at littleguysfranchise.com and then make that call.
At Copper Branch, they live life to the fullest. Food is your energy and your life. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville, their goal is to serve you, your friends, and family quality, great-tasting, plant-based power foods. Visit Copper Branch at 601 Church Street for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with convenient and validated parking during library hours, and download their app for curbside pickup. Or come out for songwriter and live music nights several times throughout the week to empower, energize, and feel your best. Visit Copper Branch today.
Meshing journalism.
They are 2 scores behind you. The math says that increases your chances of winning.
With sports fandom.
I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning, just emotionally numb from Titans and Packers.
And sarcasm.
You guys are the worst.
Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robby and Rexrode. No duh. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
So we have a little bit of breaking news here on the program. 2 items. First, the compensatory selections for the 2021 NFL Draft have been released. The Titans are going to gain a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in this year's upcoming draft. That is for Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith and all the guys they lost last year when they signed Dupree and Autry. I guess it didn't even out. And the Titans are going to get a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. So, thank you to Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. Now we got some other breaking news on the Titans. Caroline, what is it?
The Titans have agreed to a 1-year deal with safety A.J. Moore from the Houston Texans.
Who the hell is that? Who is that?
Played a lot of special teams in Houston.
Who cares?
Mike Vrabel guy.
Who cares? This is the Tennessee Titans. You were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. And the only new players on the team right now are somebody named Jamarco Jones, who started 7 games over 3 years with the Seattle Seahawks.
This is worse.
And this guy I've never heard of.
5 starts in 4 years.
Oh, God. What are they doing?
And 0 in 2021.
God. Oh, God. What are they doing? Like, hey, let's find the crappiest players out there and sign them. And then we'll get Joe Rexrode to talk about them in the morning as if he's ever watched these players play. You know who the Chiefs are signing from the Texans at safety? Reed. I can't remember if it's Eric or Justin. I know they're brothers. I think it's Justin Reed. Justin Reed. They're signing him to play safety. And you're signing some guy I've never heard of.
69 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 quarterback hits in his 4 seasons with the Texans.
Oh, God. He's not even a Vrabel guy because Vrabel, has been the coach of the Titans for the last 4 years. Oh, God. Oh, it's so frustrating. Trevor Maddich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Has it been 4 years?
Yeah, when experience matters. So, Trev, the Titans are getting you know what? The other move, I don't even care about this guy, but I'm just mad because they haven't. I'm okay with the 4th-round pick and the 6th-round pick as compensatory selections. You know the needs of the Titans. You know how deep the draft is. How does this affect your thinking about the Titans? They won't have a 2nd-round pick, but they'll have 2 4ths and 2 6ths.
Yeah, this might give them an opportunity to sign a relatively inexpensive veteran rental right tackle and then move up a little bit. I'd package those picks and move up a little bit. I mean, there's some guys that really rose at the combine that at the tackle position that might help them. And with those picks, they'd have ammunition to move up if they don't fall. One of them is Abraham Lucas out of Washington State. Big guy, 4-year starter at right tackle, ran a great 40, incredibly athletic at the combine, very smooth, and a bit of a nasty streak from Washington State. And so he might not be available where they would be picking, but they can package those compensatory picks and maybe move up a little bit. I like that. Plus, I like the fact that they drafted the safety you've never heard of, and nobody else has either, by the way, and the backup offensive lineman nobody's ever heard of either. I like both of that. Here's why. This is the Patriot way. Vrabel watched how Belichick had a few stars, and then he beat you with the stars, but mostly he beat you with the bottom half of his roster. Because the bottom half of that roster, when it came to special teams and depth, was better than the bottom half of your roster. And that's what he was able to do, see happen in New England. And so Jones, the tackle out of Seattle, he played guard and tackle. He's not really a starter. He'll give him a little bit of competition, right? But mostly he's depth and versatility. Well, when you start getting injuries on the offensive line, guys like that are gold. And then when you talk about bringing in guys that can win on special teams, yeah, that's not very flashy, but that's what you want. I'm fine with that. I think that's a good move, and it doesn't cost them anything, so they're good.
You tell me if Ryan Tannehill quarterbacking the Patriot way gets you 6 Super Bowls. I'm going to guess the answer is no. But again, I don't doubt what you're saying. It is very Belichickian of them.
Well, yeah, but see what are the quarterbacks available that the Titans could get besides Tannehill?
I agree.
You want to bring back Mariota?
I agree. Aaron Rodgers might have thought about coming here, didn't. Russell Wilson costs a lot.
Would you want to trade
Brady.
for Jimmy G?
No. No, they're stuck with Tannehill, but that's part of their own doing. Trevor Maddich is our guest. Speaking of being stuck with Tannehill, I am convinced that 26 might be a great spot to take a quarterback in this year's draft to sit on the bench for a year behind Tannehill. Bucky Brooks was on Sirius XM NFL Radio, and he said something. Solomon Wilcots was hosting with him, and Solomon Wilcots is sold on Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. Teron Davenport said after talking to him at the Combine that he felt like Desmond Ridder has the most Vrabel Robinson-like qualities of the quarterback. And this is what Bucky Brooks, NFL draft analyst, had to say about kind of the it factor that Desmond Ridder has.
So you're sitting there in Cincinnati where their quarterback, Joe Burrow, has a ton of that it factor and swag and confidence and how it's infectious and how guys feed off of that. Well, maybe Desmond Ridder has some of that. When I look at him, I kind of liken him to a little bit of the Dak Prescott thing. Not saying that their games are exactly similar, but Dak Prescott was the grown-up who was mature enough to step into a big situation and kind of get the Cowboys going right away. Maybe Desmond Ridder's maturity, his experience, gives him an opportunity to do that right away as a young player.
Trevor, if that aligns at all, I have no problem taking Desmond Ridder in the first round. What do you think of Bucky's analysis there?
Well, I've got some experience with Desmond Ridder. In my off-season tour, we picked 4 schools to do features on in a 30-minute season preview. One of those was Cincinnati and Desmond Ridder. And so I've followed him for years over there. I've done breakdowns on him. And I talked to him for this tour, for this segment, this feature. And I agree, I liked the guy. He has been through an awful lot there. And part of what he's been through when you talk about maturity is that people didn't believe in him, really up until this last year in Cincinnati. His teammates did. But a lot of fans did not, because he was known in Cincinnati as an outstanding running quarterback, but a marginal, inaccurate passing quarterback. And so he heard all the time how he was just a running back playing quarterback. And he still was able to focus through it and be a leader and all the things you'd want him to do. So in the off season before this last season, he went out to California and worked with a quarterback guru on his accuracy, on his mechanics, on his footwork. And his first play of the season this year was like an 80-yard touchdown pass that must have traveled 60 yards in the air. On the first play, straight down the middle, perfect strike. It was just a beautiful throw announcing that he can get better, that he can take that coaching and take it onto the field and turn it into more accuracy. Now, as the season went on, some of the accuracy suffered a little bit again, but he showed that he can improve his accuracy with improved footwork and mechanics. And so that's something that you'd have to really believe in order to draft him in the first round, that he has not hit his ceiling on his theoretical accuracy potential. That's important. But from a standpoint of what the Titans need at quarterback, if you want to bring him in to eventually groom him to replace Tannehill, what do they need? Okay, they need a guy that can get him into the right plays. Ritter is very smart. He doesn't get confused on the football field. At least he didn't at the college level. He is much faster, much. He ran like in the 4.5s at a 40-yard dash, at the combine. And that's the kind of guy that they can do things in this offense where you're going to have play action and roll the quarterback out and stuff like that, and then be a running threat that Tannehill just can't be on that level. He's fine, but he's not a threat to go all the way like Ritter could be. Now, you have to be careful with Ritter because he's very fast, but he's not terribly elusive. So we'd have to understand when it's time for him to sit down rather than, try to make somebody miss and end up taking a big hit because he can't make them miss. But so you'd have to believe that accuracy can grow to what the Titans also need, which is play action pass, throw it down the field, and hit it when you do it. And so he showed he could do that at times. Wasn't as consistent as it really needs to be at this level. So do you believe that he can get there? When it comes to the off-the-field stuff, I have no doubts about it. When it comes to the athleticism, he will upgrade the position of quarterback for the Titans if they pick him, big time. In order to pick him in the first round, though, they'd have to make sure that they believe that they can continue to improve his accuracy. And if they do, then sure, if you draft him in the first round to eventually replace Tannehill, you will get an upgrade at the position. But it's all dependent on that accuracy.
I'm so torn on that because Josh Allen was not overly accurate coming out and has gotten much, 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 much better. And so I used to believe that you could never teach somebody to be accurate, but Josh Allen certainly has improved a lot. Trevor?
Well, sure. Justin Herbert also came out of Oregon and went to the Chargers, and he improved his game dramatically just by putting some air into the ball and throwing with better touch at the Chargers than he ever did at the college level. And so you're right about that. People can improve, but Josh Allen is with the Bills now. When he was at Wyoming, he was just a sniper at deep throws. His problem was making the intermediate and short throws with the touch that you need. So he already had that innate accuracy.
Trevor Matich, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, appreciate it. Apparently next week we will argue about the salary cap.
I love it. Let's do it.
Yep, Trevor Matich joining us on the program. And speaking of the salary cap, Trev believes in it. I do not. I do not believe that if you can get any player you want to get, which I believe is the reality of the cap, then I don't believe that it's real. Now, do I think that, there is technically a cap? I mean, I guess there's technically a cap in the NBA. But, if all you do is have to just pay some extra money when you go over it, it's not really a cap. So we'll make of it what we will. But there may be a reason why the Titans aren't spending a lot. And it is interesting. We'll discuss that next, right here on Stillman & Company, and I'll tell you why. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to check out Nashville's best deals. This week's new deal is half off a $50 gift card for Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House is Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit beerhousenashville.com to view their live music schedule. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are two guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
Every team's got those. That's my point.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Join Planet Fitness now through March 16th and get the PF Black Card for zero enrollment and $22.99 a month. You'll enjoy an upgraded experience with tons of perks.
Like access to more than 2,000 locations worldwide?
Yep.
Super soothing hydro massage chairs?
Yes.
Can I bring a friend every time?
Sure.
Can my friend be a horse?
Nay. Sorry. Get the PF Black Card and feel fit-tacular. Zero enrollment, $22.99 a month. Deal ends March 16th. See Club for details.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Joe Rexrode here, inviting you to start your bracket with a bang. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers a $150 instant bonus guaranteed. That's right. You'll get $150 in bonus site credit. All you got to do is place your first bet of $5 or more. How you bet the bracket is up to you. You can choose from the money line, totals, prop bets, so much more. I mean, big picture, I would tell you, I really like Baylor to make a run. I know that may not be all that out on a limb, but Baylor, defending national champion, really like that team in March. I know they had an early exit in the Big 12 tournament, but sometimes teams rebound big from that. And with cash out, the ball is in your court. You can close out your bet whenever you want before a game is over. Join FanDuel today with promo code Joe102. You place your $5 bet to score $150 in bonus site credit guaranteed. That's promo code Joe102 on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now drawable site credit. Expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Hey everybody, Robby Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's as the neighborhood bar and restaurant to catch the next Preds game. Jasper's is located on West End Avenue and offers a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, and a large bar and lounge area. Plus they offer free parking. That's right, free parking on West End, and offer specials for every Preds game day, including $10 smash burgers and $3 bottle domestics. So come on down to Jasper's next game day for happy hour every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. and 2-for-1 beers all day on Sundays. Just tell them that Robby Stanley sent you.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Karen Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Get our podcast, Stillman and Company, wherever podcasts are had. We're live at Bridgestone Arena from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Pre-game in less than an hour. Puck drop in 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 25 seconds. According to the little Bally Sports sticker, they play the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. Free agency is upon us. The Tennessee Titans have re-signed Harold Landry. They have re-signed Ben Jones. They have re-signed Jeff Swaim to a ridiculous 1-year, $3.5 million contract. Again, you talk about thievery. $3.5 million for Jeff Swaim.
Ooh.
Is that. They have let go of Jackrabbit Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Trying to think of who else they've let go of. I think they've let go of somebody else. I can't remember. But anywho, they really haven't done much. The two names, Saffold, there you go. The two names that they brought in that are new players are Jamarco Jones, a backup offensive lineman from the Seahawks, and A.J. Moore. Did I get that right?
I believe it's A.J. Moore, yes.
Yes, I think that is correct.
A special team safety from the Texans. So, and I'm not saying go spend $1 jillion on Christian Kirk, because Christian Kirk is not worth that kind of money. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the Titans need to be in on every big name free agent. They don't need to, offer up the farm to Gronk or offer it up to Von Miller or anything like that just because they've got a big name. But they need to go get a right tackle. They need to have a starting tight end. They need to get a left guard. They need to have better options at wide receiver than Nick Westbrook-Akina with the game on the line. And I wonder why the Titans are not in the mix for really anybody right now. I mean, think about it. Kansas City, they've got just as much of a cap problem as you do. They've got all these players signed up. They've got their defensive tackle signed up. They've got their pass rusher signed up. In fact, they just signed him to a new contract. They've just signed a safety yesterday to replace Honey Badger. They paid him a bunch of money. They've got Tyreek Hill, who they're going to give an extension to. Travis Kelce, who at tight end I think is one of the richest paid guys there. They got Patrick Mahomes making $45 million a year. And somehow the Chiefs can franchise tag the left tackle, pay the guard $14 million, and go out into free agency and get people because the salary cap, it does not exist. Atlanta, who has kicked the can down the road as much as possible on Matt Ryan, they're interested in Deshaun Watson. The Saints, who started this at $60 million in the hole, they're in the mix for Deshaun Watson. So really it comes down to one thing, which is, are you willing to write the check? Amy Adams-Strunk has done everything a fan can ask for as far as being the controlling owner of the Tennessee Titans is concerned. When she took over the team from her sister and really from her brother-in-law, who had no idea what in the hell he was doing. When she took over the team, she got rid of Ken Wisenhunt and had to write a fat check on that one. She ultimately ended up firing Mike Mularkey too and had to write a nice little check on that one. She's extended Mike Vrabel. She's extended John Robinson. She allowed you to go get DeMarco Murray. She allowed you to give the big contract to Tannehill. She gave the contract to Derrick Henry. She went out there and said, do this. They rebuilt the practice facility. They're talking now about building a new stadium in which the Titans would at least chip in some sort of money on. They just gave Harold Landry a $20 million check, and they're going to have to give Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown, you would assume, big, fat, freaking checks next year. At the end of the day, the way that the kicking the can actually works is you go to a player like Tannehill, who's going to make $29 million in salary, and you say to him, how about we turn this into a signing bonus, and over the next 4 years, whatever this is, divide it by 4, that's what we'll pay, which is simple math. I mean, just cut it in by 4, and that's how Tannehill last year was $11 million against your cap, and that's why he's $38 million against your cap this year. It's what New Orleans has done for everybody. They did it for Marcus Davenport. They did it for Alvin Kamara. They did it for Drew Brees in the past. They've done it for everybody. That's how New Orleans stays afloat. But the one person who suffers in that, because the fans don't suffer because they don't care. Mm-hmm. The player doesn't suffer because they get their money up front. And the team doesn't suffer from the cap because they end up getting more money under that fictitious salary cap. The one person who suffers in this is the person writing the check. And so I'm not one to sit here and accuse somebody of being cheap when I don't have any proof that they're being cheap. So I'm not going to accuse Amy Adams-Strunk of being cheap. I also don't think it is fair to not take into consideration the fact that she has spent a boatload of money on that facility, a boatload of money, I would assume, on the coach, a boatload of money you would expect them to pay on the new stadium, a boatload of money for Harold Landry's new contract, a boatload of money for Bud Dupree's contract, and 2 boatloads all up front at one time for Ryan Tannehill. I wonder if there's a part of her that's looking at John Robinson and saying, no, John, we are not going to pay a right tackle all this money and have to give it up front and restructure this and move this over here, because at the end of the day, that's a lot of freaking money to ask one person to pay. So I guess this is my long-winded way of saying I cannot figure for the life of me how this team can give Jeff Swaim a $3.5 million contract and say, done at tight end. And a lot of people will say, well, it's 3.5. That's a backup. They're bringing Swaim in to be a backup. He's going to be the number 2 tight end. And was he the number 2 tight end last year? No, he was not. He was the starting tight end. Did they have a right tackle last year? No, they did not. And so when the Titans cut people like Bud Dupree next year, they still paid a lot on that signing bonus. And while it may not show up on the cap, that's money that's coming out of Amy Adams-Strunk and Kenneth Adams and Barclay Adams and all the other Adams. That's coming out of their pockets. And so while I look around the league and I see that Gail Benson of the Saints does not have a problem writing big checks, Arthur Blank of the Falcons, who has his problems as an owner, we should add, has no problem writing them fat checks. Jerry Jones has no problem writing them fat checks. Robert Kraft, the Buccaneers, they have no problem writing the fat checks. Kansas City, like maybe Amy's kind of over it.
But
like maybe Amy doesn't have the money when planning for the future of a Simmons deal and a AJ deal and a stadium deal. Like maybe she's looking at this like, John, we don't have $50 million in cash if we want to spend that $50 million in cash on those two guys' signing bonus because that's what it's going to take.
And that is a fair point about the stadium because she could be looking at a $2 billion tab very soon.
Well, she's not paying that. She'd be paying like $100 million.
Okay, but still.
But we'd be paying like $1.9 billion.
But you compare it to last year. Did they go into the last season with a right tackle? No. A tight end? No.
Nope.
But the Titans did their fair share in free agency to build up the other parts of the team that needed to be built up. So now that's taken care of. The defensive line, the defense, that's taken care of.
Though
now
she had to write a fat check to Harold Landry.
Yes, she did. But that, like, the Titans still had moves in free agency.
Who did Brady go see? We assume.
The Glazers.
Where do we know Brady was on Saturday before it came out on Sunday he was coming back?
He was in the UK.
Why was he there?
For a Manchester United game.
Okay.
Who owns Man
Manchester
U?
United?
The same family that owns the Bucks. And then he unretired, ironically, a day after.
Remember how we talked about how Brady doesn't care what Arians thinks?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter to him. Because if he went, if it were between Brady and Arians, we know who's getting the boot. When you meet with the owner, are you going to spend money for an offensive line for me? Are you going to spend money on these free agents for me on defense so that we have a chance to compete for a championship? Because, again, the only thing that matters with the quote-unquote
salary
cap is if the owner is willing to write the checks. And that's probably what Brady needed to hear from the owner. Arians can't tell him that. Jason Light, the general manager, can't tell him that. Jason Light can't say to him, Tommy, we will spend the money for you, and we don't care how much we have to pay. Because that's not Jason Light's money. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Brady went out to Manchester to talk to the Glazers and said, you know what, I think I've convinced Giselle that I want to play, but I need you to get a team because I'm not going there to lose to the freaking Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers. So get me a team. And all of a sudden, here's all the money for Ryan Jensen, the center. Here comes Shaq Mason, the guard from the Patriots. Here comes Russell Gage from the Falcons. Oh, shocking. So are we sure that the reason the Titans are not doing anything to address clear holes that they have is because Amy is not only looking at the past and the money she's had to fork up front.
She's also got a lot of money down the pipe.
But also looking at a bunch of upfront money she's going to have to write in about, a year, anywhere from like the next 3 years. Now, the stadium thing will come down the road, but you still have to start planning for it now. So I think it's a fair question to ask. And that is, every time they talk about, well, Amy gives us everything to succeed. And I don't doubt that. And I love Amy. I do not doubt that. But I wonder if this is, no. I'm tired of giving Isaiah Wilson a first-round signing bonus and it not working. I'm tired of giving Tannehill 2 signing bonuses and it not working. I'm tired of giving Julio Jones a signing bonus last year and it not working. I'm tired of that. Hold that thought. 615-737-1025 is your phone number. 615-737-1025. That's the question, which is, could it be that the Titans are just a little cash poor when it comes to going out there right now and spending on the free agents, or that they're going to have to play within a real budget and not the fictitious salary cap? And how do we feel? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. And an interesting stat about the Titans and the money they've spent. We'll get to your thoughts on it as well. Hey, play hooky with the game and watch all the games at New Heights Brewing this Thursday and Friday, March 17th and 18th. We'll be broadcasting live, and there'll be beer and basketball all day. Enjoy the food from the local spot and try beers from the Tap Truck Nashville and New Heights Brewing. A portion of the proceeds from beer sales will go to the Metro Animal Care and Control. Come play hooky and give back at New Heights Brewing at 928 John Lewis Way in Nashville. Powered by Wager, the new gaming app where you challenge your community and not the house.
The NHL trade deadline is March 21st at 2 p.m. Central. What will the Predators general manager David Poile do to improve the team?
I'm not sure at this time of how big of a trading deadline it's going to be. The standings, it is so close.
Will Philip Forsberg be re-signed before then?
I'm not trying to trade him. I'm trying to sign him. We're going to talk to him again. Hope I have some good news to tell you.
Keep it here on Smashville's Best Sports Talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Winter's a bad time for your furnace to go out, but it's never a bad time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Men, what if I told you that now you're able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMDformen.com.
It's Markdown Madness at Electronic Express. Bring the tournament to your living room with 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. Computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Markdown Madness is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
Did you know that every diamond at Genesis Diamonds is over 1 billion years old? That's before dinosaurs, even before some of the stars in the sky. These elusive stones were originally formed miles beneath the Earth's surface, each one born in a volcanic explosion, yet kept hidden for generations. It's a fact that for every 1 carat diamond at Genesis Diamonds, trained miners blasted through over 200 tons of rock, and skilled experts sifted through the rubble to find the highly sought-after rough diamonds. Then expert cutters spend untold hours shaping and polishing each stone, unlocking its beauty and fire and brilliance. From the hands of the craftsman direct to you, these magical stones are your piece of eternity. Precious, rare, unique, indestructible, and treasured all over the world. Oh, and the unbeatable prices at Genesis Diamonds? They're just a bonus. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Uncompromising quality, unimaginable value.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Stillman and Company, our bracket challenge, by the way, which I wait. It is a rookie move if you fill out your bracket ahead of the games, the play-in games.
Will you just let people have fun things?
No. You wait until after the play-in games in order. It is a rookie move if you don't wait. Because you might ask yourself, when's the last time a play-in game mattered, right? Like, when's the last time a team from the play-in game, went all the way to the tournament, right?
It was not that long ago, was it?
UCLA last year went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, yes, It matters. Wait. The Game Bracket Challenge is back. Sign up and play for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Indy 500 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and a pair of tickets to see Shinedown at Bridgestone Arena on May 4th. Now that all the teams have been selected, go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge and fill out your bracket. The Game Bracket Challenge brought to you by Coach's Corner Sports Grill in Spring Hill, Days Delta 8, and Wager. So again, let me tell you all, I promise you, wait until the play-in games tonight, tomorrow. Do it Wednesday night, and you might have a shot because you never know. So we're discussing this factor. The Titans have done nothing in free agency, so much so that we reported on Friday that they had planned not to be flashy and that it was really going to be Harold Landry was kind of the move that they felt like they made. And they wanted us to be like, okay, you guys really went for it by re-signing a guy who was on the team last year. Now, you know that that's not how I am. But sitting here looking at all of this and saying, hey, the one thing that it takes in order for you to be good in the NFL and for you to manipulate the cap however you want is that you have got to write the check. And when you look at across the league, Chad Kahn in Jacksonville, that guy would pay $1 billion if it meant that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to win a Super Bowl. I feel it deep down inside. I don't know him. Floyd did. And I felt like Shad Khan was so dedicated to wanting to win. He's just too stupid to try to figure out how to do it, which is the case for a lot of these owners. Like Jerry. You know, Jerry would give – you think Jerry would pay $1 billion to win a Super Bowl?
Yes.
He would. And Jerry's got it. And a lot of these guys can just write check after check after check, and it doesn't matter. Kraft, Arthur Blank, Haslam in Cleveland. Like these people, Kroenke, like these people could write whatever check they want. And I am not, what's the term, Ladarius? Pocket watching? I am not pocket watching here. But I don't think that Amy Adams Strunk and her bank account, which I'm sure is much larger than every single person listening to this right now, I'm not sure that she can go toe-to-toe with Stan Kroenke when it comes to who's got the most money. You know, and this is going to be just fascinating to see as far as Cincinnati is concerned down the road, because Joe Burrow is going to ultimately demand that franchise spend money. Now, they spent money on guards and things like that this year, and they've signed some free agents, and that's a sign that's a sign that Cincinnati's like, you know what? We can't beat cheap old Cincinnati anymore. Like, we got to the Super Bowl, we're going to have to, but year after year after year, I have a feeling that Mike Brown is not going to want to pay all that money, and I got a feeling that Joe Burrow is going to want to make him pay that money, and that Joe's going to have to hold that over his head every year. Charles Barkley told a story during The Last Dance that didn't air on the show, but while that was all going on, Jerry Reinsdorf is one of the cheapest owners in all of sports. Like, it was almost like he was proud of that deal where he essentially exploited Pippen. You know, there was an unbelievable, like, I told Scotty don't sign it, but once you sign it, I don't want to hear from you again. Like, well, okay, bud, that's not really how sports works, but okay. And Reinsdorf doesn't want to renegotiate contracts. He got baseball owners in a lot of trouble in the 80s by colluding with other owners to keep free agency prices down, which I believe is a federal crime. And he and Bud Selig got involved in that. And Reinsdorf has been a total cheap ass when it comes to the Bulls and the White Sox for years. And Michael got sick of having to nickel and dime with Reinsdorf to get paid every year. Michael wanted $30 million a year, which he was well worth for the Chicago Bulls. Reinsdorf didn't want to pay it. Now, in The Last Dance, Reinsdorf was like, well, you know, we looked at it, and Pippen was old, and Rodman was old, and so we had Michael, but then we'd have to rebuild around Michael. Jerry Reinsdorf never wanted to pay the money. And that's why he let Michael Jordan and the Bulls fall apart. And he didn't try to go for a seventh. He didn't want to go for a sixth championship. That's why he didn't go for a seventh championship. I say all of this because sometimes in sports, even though we know how much money all these teams make, at the end of the day, there is somebody writing a check. And when I look at the Titans, here are your spenders. New Orleans, this is for this season, and I don't own I don't have Spot Track Premium, and I ain't going to buy it. But last year, the Titans, I believe, were 5th or 6th in the league in total cash spent, and the Rams were either one place behind them or one place ahead of them. This season, total cash, New Orleans, not a surprise. Number 1.
There it is.
Rich owner Gail Benson. Green Bay, number 2. Not a surprise because they're trying to give all these guys signing bonus money to keep Aaron Rodgers, and they don't have an owner. But this is very un-Green Bay-like for Green Bay to
dish out a
this.
ton of cash.
Jacksonville, number 3. Not a surprise. They got an owner that wants to win and will spend money.
And they were bad, so they have a lot of positions to replace.
Buffalo. The Pagulas in Buffalo are very wealthy, but I think one big element of the Pagulas, too, is that I think they know they're in a Super Bowl window with Josh Allen, so I think they're kind of going for it, and they're trying to get a new stadium built with taxpayer money, and in New York, that's pretty hard to do, so you better put out a good team there. Number 5, Tampa Bay, where Brady just met with the owner, and I got to believe that Brady met with the owner to try to tell the owner, what are you going to do for me if I come back? And that's probably in part why Brady came back. Now, the Chargers are 6. I'm a little surprised by that because they are a very cheap team and cheap ownership, and I don't think they get any money off that stadium. Like, I think that stadium, that money goes all to the Rams. So I don't know where the Chargers are getting their money from. But as of right now, they're at $194 million spent. The Chiefs are 7. We know they restructure everybody every year. Clark Hunt has to write the check. Amy Adams-Strunk's 8.
Interesting.
So she spent more money than Jerry so far, or will have to spend more money than Jerry, more money than Kroenke, more money than Jed York and the 49ers, more money than Kraft, more money than the Rooneys, more money than Arthur Blank, more money than Irsay.
These traditional big spenders.
Right. You know, these guys that are rich. You know, like even though Denver's got Russell Wilson, they're 26. They don't have an owner right now. You know, they're going to put the team up for sale. And that's a big part of these picks and everything else that nobody talked about was if you're going to try to sell your franchise, you want to have a franchise quarterback there to be like, hey, you're buying the team with Russell Wilson. And nobody talked about that. So I do wonder where the business element comes into the fact that the Titans have not done jack as far as addressing right tackle or tight end positions that they didn't have filled last year. And, you know, hopefully they don't go into next season trying to look it up. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have?
One texter texts into the text line and says, is Amy the only owner? I know she's the controlling owner, but maybe the others are hesitant to spend.
She is not the only owner. I do wonder the family dynamics and everything else, but let's just say for argument's sake, Amy's bank account represents the whole team right now, just for argument's sake. But yes, she is not the only owner of the Titans.
Chad from Chattanooga texts in and says, it's been only 2 days, Jared. Relax.
I mean, I'm sorry, they're just starting right tackles that are available 6 months from now? Because remember, wide receiver and tight end, we relaxed all last year. Remember when Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith left, and they didn't sign a tight end. And then it was like, okay, well, they'll draft a tight end, and then they didn't draft a tight end. And so they, at the draft, it was A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Nick Westbrook-Akina to go with Jeff Swaim, Anthony Ferkser. And that was it. And there were no starters other than A.J. Brown in any of that. And then they went and traded for Julio Jones. But before that, they were rolling with Josh Reynolds. And so you can tell me to chill out. They went into week 1 last year. They did not have a right tackle. They did not have a tight end. And clearly Tannehill plays better with a tight end. And I would assume that the quarterback probably plays better when he's got a right tackle. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's give away some Preds tickets. We'll do that next. So we'll have it your way to win Preds tickets. Plus, the Preds have a big one tonight. David Poyle updated us on the Philip Forsberg negotiations. What does that actually mean? How, Gil? I will grill him on that next because I've got to know. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. That's right. You can use the promo code JGM to get in. And I am telling you, FanDuel Sportsbook is my thing. Start your bracket with a bang because right now FanDuel is giving new customers $150 instant bonus guaranteed. That's right. You'll get $150 in bonus site credit. All you have to do is place your first bet of $5 or more. How you bet the bracket is up to you. You can choose from the money line totals, prop bets, and so much more. I'm telling you, spend the money on Kentucky. Kentucky, Kentucky, Kentucky. Kentucky, because I've never heard of the St. Peter's before. Plus, with cash out, the ball's in your court, so you can close your bet whenever you want before the game is over. Join FanDuel today with the promo code JGM, and then you can place your $5 bet to score $150 in bonus site credit guaranteed. That's promo code JGM on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm, his shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' third of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025, The Game.
Care has the power to bring kindness where it's needed. It brings out the best in every one of us. It doesn't just see people. It takes time to understand them. It puts the needs of others ahead of its own. And when you start with care, you end up with a very different kind of bank. Truist. Truist Bank, member FDIC.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Hey, it's Mark Howard here. You've heard me talk about my friends at Apple Collision Centers for a while now, and today I'm here with CEO Stan Harrison to tell you about how they can help ease your stress with your auto body repair.
That's right, Mark. We have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Our people are homegrown right here in Middle Tennessee with over 75 years experience. We can help with all your auto body repair needs.
So stop by and see Stan and his team today and tell them Mark sent you, or visit them online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey everybody, Robby Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's. Jasper's is a casual restaurant and bar located on West End Avenue, equipped with TVs, a game room available for private events, a grab-and-go market, and free parking. Yes, free parking. This neighborhood spot is Nashville's new go-to restaurant and bar. You can try their selection of elevated bar food ranging from appetizers to chicken sandwiches to flatbread pizzas and the famous smash burger, as well as any of their delicious cocktails. So visit my friends at Jasper's, located at 1918 West End Avenue, and tell them that Robby sent you.
Wednesday night, it's a matchup in the NBA.
A screen, the easiest basket he'll have tonight.
As the Mavericks head to Brooklyn to take on the Nets.
Got it, KD with a chance for a three-point play.
Coverage begins at 6
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
I promised Preds tickets, so Preds tickets you will get. We got a trivia question, though. This is for a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Ottawa Senators at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, March 29th. The Predators tonight are hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins. In fact, we're live inside the Patron Club. And Ian, I see you writing that on the call screener. You know that as soon as these people start calling in, that's going to wipe that away. Okay, so let me just say this, that I'm sorry about that, but that the trivia question here, since they're playing the Penguins, go back to the Cup Final 2017. Who was the last player to score a goal for the Nashville Predators in the Stanley Cup Final? Be the first person to tell Ian that at 615-737-1025. And you are going to the game against the Ottawa Senators at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, March 29th. Hal Gill joins us, as he always does, presented by Dunkin' in their new next-gen location at 500 Cool Springs Boulevard. Hal, today Darren Donican Chase had David Poyle on. They asked him about the latest as far as the Philip Forsberg contract situation is concerned. Here's what David Poyle had to say.
It's fine. I'm hoping to, in fact, talk again to his side today. It's the same situation. We both are saying the right things in terms of wanting to play here and us wanting to sign him. It's just we haven't reached the right number yet. It's as simple as that.
So not a lot of details there. Hal, the trade deadline is less than a week away. I'm starting to get nervous that this could be Ryan Suter Part 2. How do you feel about this situation and kind of the fact that the trade deadline, the only leverage the Predators have, is upcoming next week?
Well, it's a tough one. It's anytime you're in a negotiation, it all comes down to leverage. And if you feel like, hey, I got them under the gun, they got to pay me. And they feel like, hey, listen, that's too steep. We got to back it off a little bit. Eventually it comes down to a tipping point, right? And that trade deadline is coming around, and that may be the tipping point that they're looking for. It's tough as a player. You're like, okay, I want what I'm worth, and if I'm not going to get it here, I'll get it somewhere else. But the grass isn't always greener, and who knows where you're going to end up. And there's always conversations, but you don't know until you actually get into it. Phil's got a tough decision to make. Ultimately, it comes down to his hand. It sounds like the Preds want to sign him. So if he takes less money, he can stay. And so that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, I think. That's what it sounds like. But how much less are you willing to take to stay in Nashville? That's the bottom line. And the only one that can answer that is Phil.
Do you think it's fair to ask somebody to take less money when they're having the season that he's having?
I don't think it's fair. It's
because you sat
really,
kind of on both sides of the table here.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough decision, a life decision to make because he's young. He doesn't have to worry about whether he packs up and moves somewhere. But maybe his girlfriend Erin wants to stay here. She's a singer and she's living in Nashville, but maybe she doesn't mind leaving. So you can take family out of it somewhat, but it's still a real deal. And do you like playing here? Do you want to win with this group? Do you take a little less money and say, hey, maybe I take a little less money and someone else can get some of the share, and we'll have a better team? That's something that the Boston Bruins did pretty well. You look up and down the lineup, Pastrnak, Bergeron, Marchand, they all took a little bit less than I think they're worth so that they could stay together and try to build something and keep it going. So, it doesn't always work. And so you don't want to salvage your livelihood because you think, you're just like, hey, we're going to go win. It doesn't work that way, but there's something to be said for taking a little less so you can be on a winning team. I just don't know how much you sacrifice for that. That's the question. How much money are you willing to sacrifice?
Hal Gill is our guest. When do you think, and you've been a part of negotiations, I'm sure not as probably down to the wire as this, but then again, I have no idea about your negotiations, so I could be wrong. But when do you think the Predators and Forsberg need to really have the final offer in? Like, when does the moment have to come where it's like, Phil, if you don't take this deal from us, we have to trade you?
Well, that becomes the problem is, hey, we have to trade you, and that becomes part of the negotiation is, hey, if you don't take this number, we are going to trade you. Then Phil has to say, okay, do I want to be traded or do I want to take the money? But I've gone through this where you're on the trading block, or you might get traded, and you're trying to think about how you want to handle that. It's an uneasy feeling because everyone gets traded, and Phil is, I should say everyone. It's very rare that someone doesn't get traded at some point or go somewhere else in their career at some point. But when it's your decision and you're standing there with a gun to your head saying either take the money or you're gone, it's very real. It's very like, okay, this isn't a game anymore. This is my whole life we're talking about. So, I think the trade deadline is a big thing. But, they could say, hey, we're going to keep you. I'm not sure we're going to sign you. And then they could let this negotiation go on and try to figure it out as the season goes on. I don't really think that's the end of the world. If he doesn't sign and he doesn't get traded, I just don't think it's the end of the world. There's a lot that can be done leading up to the draft. There's a lot of trades like that that'll happen right before, you can release that contract right up until the free agent signing, and you could say, hey, go somewhere else, and they get the first crack at signing you, and you can make something out of that. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but it certainly is one of those tipping points that I'm sure both sides are thinking about.
Hal, I know you were on the team when this happened. I have no animosity towards Forsberg, no matter what he chooses to do, even if that is go take the money wherever it may be. What do you remember of the Ryan Suter situation? Because fans here still hate Ryan Suter. I don't. I've let it go. But there was a feeling. I think there's a feeling around here between what happened with him and what happened with Jimmy Vesey that these fans do not want somebody to leave here for nothing when they're promised, oh, yeah, I want to be here, want to work out a deal, things like that. What do you remember as a player of that situation? And do you think that something similar could happen inside the locker room right now, given the fact that Forsberg's having a great year and this team seems to be humming?
I've never worried about a player and his money or what he's doing. Everyone's got to make their own decisions. If you're holding out on a contract, go ahead, do what you got to do. That's your decision. Once you're in the locker room, that's when that's when we're teammates. And so I will never. And to be honest with you, I get pretty upset when I hear people booing Ryan Suter. Ryan Suter went off and made $10 million for 10 years. We're talking about $100 million. That's an obscene amount of money. And anyone else in the world within the same situation might have done the same thing. Jimmy Vesey was a junior at Harvard. He stayed another year to become a free agent, and he finished his degree at Harvard University. You can get a degree from Harvard and never play hockey again and make more money than any hockey player could ever dream of making just by going out and with that Harvard degree. I just think it's a lot of people, and I appreciate the passion and I love it, but this is your life you're talking about. This is a business, and then you put the business aside and go play hockey. And if you want to complain as a fan, if you want to complain about the way a guy plays or what he does on the ice, that's one thing. But I just think it's completely unfair to judge someone about what they do as far as their business and trying to make money. And you say, I'd play for free. No, you wouldn't. You might think about doing that, but and then you go through 10 games and realize I got to get paid for this because this is grueling and it's destroying my body, and I need to get money for this. So, with all due respect to fans and how passionate they are about this, leave the business out of it and let the guy take care of his business. And then once he gets on the ice, then cheer or be upset with him about what's going on the ice. But off the ice, with the business side of it, I just think that's not your lane, and you should stay in your lane.
Ooh, that was a little spicy there from old Harold.
That was saucy.
Interesting. Hal Gill is presented by Dunkin', their newest next-gen location, 500 Cool Springs Boulevard. Hey, Harold, guess what? Yesterday I was in a pinch, and I really, really, really was craving like an egg and cheese, like bagel, egg white something. I went to the Dunkin' in Belmead, and it was in and out. Boom, bagel. Boy, it was fantastic. Absolutely outstanding. I know you love Dunkin' yourself, Hal.
Oh, isn't it the best? You know what?
It did hit the spot. I'll be honest.
My son gets the bacon, egg, and cheese with a plain bagel. I get the sausage, egg, and cheese, and with a cinnamon raisin bagel. It hits the spot. And I'll tell you what, I mixed it up the other day, and I got a croissant with a sausage, egg, and cheese, which is absolute dead butter. It's fantastic. yeah, it's my favorite. I grew up in Boston on Dunks, and so I'm pretty happy that it's down here, and there's one on every corner. The newest one is at 1645 West Main Street in Lebanon. Go check that one out. You talked about the one in 500 Cool Springs, and, of course, in our neck of the woods at Hadding Pike, as I called it in Boston. But, go get your Dunks. There's some new exciting items coming out, so you got to go try these out. You got the salted caramel cream cold brew, shamrock macchiato made with Irish cream swirl, and the roasted tomato toast. You can get that with hummus or avocado, but it is St. Patrick's Day, so I feel like you kind of have to get a shamrock macchiato, right? I mean, that just kind of goes without saying. So go treat yourself. Go get your Dunks.
There you go. Hal Gill joining us on the program. Appreciate you, Hal.
Getting saucy. I was getting saucy for you, Caroline. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that, Hal. Thank you.
Hey, you know what's funny about this? You know what Hal told the fans not to do?
Huh.
Pocket watch.
He did.
He's, hey, don't be pocket watching. Well, guess what? I mean, it's sports. So everybody
watches.
knows what you make. Everybody
You just spent the past
has
hour
opinions
pocket
on it.
watching.
Oh, yeah, we talked about the Titans, how much money they got, how much they don't got. Ain't my business. Coming up next, another free agent that the Titans really could have used that is not coming back, and I think it's bad. Plus Predators Game Day. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mostly cloudy skies as we head into the evening hours for tonight, and a few showers trying to creep in from the south. We'll look for isolated showers on Wednesday, mostly cloudy, and highs topping off in the mid to upper 60s. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as your Nashville Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers this Thursday night. Puck drops at 6, but the party starts at 5:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at Headquarters Beercade downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, listen, we all have cavities, but what's the best way to try and keep them from happening?
Cavities are like any other health condition. You don't really know you have one until it gets bad. Recently, I saw a patient for treatment that they had been putting off. Something that could have been simple to fix 6 months ago turned out to need a root canal and a crown. Postponing treatment costs more and takes time away from work.
Nobody wants a root canal, so you're right. Regular checkups are very important.
Well, we do things differently. I want to let people know that if they're afraid of pain or worried about the cost, they are not alone. Don't be embarrassed. We understand. Give us a call at 615-373-4488. That's KellyERice.com.
Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. If you don't have dental insurance, no problem. Be sure to join their membership club. Just visit KellyERice.com or call 615-373-4488 now to schedule your cleaning and checkup. You'll certainly be glad you did.
Sometimes their glass is half full.
That was unbelievable. It was the best NFL draft they've ever had.
Sometimes glass half empty.
What are we getting ourselves into here? Tough game.
And sometimes it's all about the numbers.
One win, and they've gone on this streak, and now they're at 500.
Hang out with Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2 during your workday. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
This just in, the Carolina Panthers are signing Deontay Foreman to a 1-year, $2 million contract. That according to Josina Anderson. Now remember, our free agency plan was Deontay Foreman 1 year, $1 million guaranteed. Mm-hmm. He got 1 year, $2 million. Let me just say, I would have been willing to go the extra $1 million for Deontay Foreman. As Caroline pointed out, how in the hell can we live in a world where Deontay Foreman is not worth $2 million to the Titans, but Jeff Swaim, who freaking sucks, is worth $3.5 million to the Titans.
Like, I don't understand that.
I mean,
a running back that was really able to bridge the gap between hurt Derrick Henry and not hurt Derrick Henry, and that's incredibly valuable.
And here's what I realized, too, about that whole experiment last year. It took Foreman. Now, I said after the Texans debacle that Foreman should be getting the ball and he should be Derrick Henry. Because remember, TD was like, well, why Foreman? I'm like, he runs the best. But that after that Texans game, that they should treat Foreman like Henry and just hand him the ball.
Run the ball.
And if you're punting a lot, I don't care. Just run the ball. And Foreman, while he did fumble against the Patriots, and it was a bad fumble, Foreman was a great player. He almost carried the Titans to victory in the Steelers game. He had a big run that could have saved their rear ends in the Bengals game.
But
Foreman was
happened
a good
in both
player.
of those games?
Daniel screwed it up.
There it is.
But in both cases, Foreman was great for this team last year. Great, perfect backup to Henry. They cut Darrington Evans. They don't have a backup to Derrick Henry right now, and he signs a 1-year, $2 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. And I think we're all probably sitting here wondering, what the hell do the Carolina Panthers want Deontay Foreman for when they have Christian McCaffrey? Well, McCaffrey's hurt all the time, which we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Foreman was taken in the 3rd round of the 2017 draft by the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson was taken in the 1st round of the 2017 draft by the Houston Texans. I don't know if they're friends or not. They might be. They may hate each other. I don't know. We learned yesterday that Jarvis Landry hates Ryan Tannehill. So maybe Deontay Foreman hates Deshaun Watson, or to your point, maybe they are bestie pops. So I think that move, the Foreman $2 million, is kind of a way to say, hey, Deshaun, if we trade Christian McCaffrey for you, just know.
They do follow each other on Instagram.
How many people does Deshaun follow on Instagram?
634.
I mean, that's not a lot of people.
That's not a lot.
Especially considering what Deshaun's been using his Instagram for, allegedly. But they follow each other on Instagram.
Interesting.
So could Carolina be giving $2 million to Deontay Foreman to try to get Deshaun Watson to want to go there? And
that's so desperate.
Yes, Tepper is desperate. Tepper is worth $15 billion.
Carolina's desperate.
He's worth $15 billion, and all he wants is a quarterback. And this is a man that when you're worth $15 billion, everything that you could possibly have in your entire life, you get. And so he wants a franchise quarterback. And he can't get Brady, and he can't get Rodgers, and he can't get Deshaun is the white whale. So if I got to pay $2 million to Deontay Foreman to maybe try to get, his bestie pop, Deshaun Watson, to come in there, I'll do it. Now,
they're totally peacocking Deshaun Watson.
I look at the Titans, and I think to myself, $2 million isn't enough for Deontay Foreman?
But 3.5 for Jeff Swaim.
I mean,
that's adequate.
Didn't they just give $5 million to Jamarco Jones yesterday?
Yes, they did.
Who the F is that? Deontay Foreman is a bad
He is a bad
boy.
Man.
He's a bad boy. Now, I'll say this from a football standpoint for Carolina, because McCaffrey can never stay healthy. I get it.
Yeah, it's a smart signing on their part. It's a cheap running back that they can pick up.
And if he's boys with Watson, then you got to do that.
But that is such a weak move, and I get it. I
It's
get
an
what
NBA
they're
thing
doing.
to do.
It's a total hey, look what we've got. We've got your best friend Deontay Foreman
Aaron in Green Bay.
Well, yeah, but that's we all know that Aaron is such
he wants his buddies.
He's a peacocker like that.
He wants his buddies.
He's willing. The Panthers are willing to pick up, his draft class mate and say, hey, you know what? We want him. This could be the Houston Texans 2.0. You can bring whatever you had in Houston. You can bring that to Carolina.
Well, they're not going to let him bring DeAndre Hopkins, which is probably going to be part of the problem. But
it's the thinking behind it.
It's, hey, we'll bring your boy.
And I don't know how effective that's going to be. Honestly, like Deontay Foreman.
I just want to know why the Titans are not bringing back Deontay Foreman with $2 million and they're paying $3.5 for Jeff Swaim.
Who's the backup running back? Dontrell Hilliard?
Nope, he's free agent. I don't know.
Add it to the list.
Oh, yeah, backup running back's definitely on there. There's no trust in Derrick Henry going to be Derrick Henry again. You got a backup running back. I can't believe they're letting Foreman go. I tell you, these Titans, I
mean, that good of a running back for $2 million?
You got to let the cake bake. We'll see where this goes. But so far, I'm not liking free agency. Time now for Predators game day.
It's Hockey Night in Smashville.
Deflects back for Deshaun. His shot stop and the score!
What are the keys to victory tonight? What's being said in the locker room? Where do the Preds reside in the Central Division standings? Jared Stillman has the latest now. With Preds Game Day on Stillman and Company. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. This is Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Nashville Predators tonight, 34-21-4, good for 72 points. They host the Pittsburgh Penguins, 36-15-9. That's good for 81 points tonight. Welcoming back Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, the winners of the 2017 Stanley Cup, which they won right here at Bridgestone Arena. Meanwhile, the Predators, Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene are red hot, and they come into tonight's game after a big win on Sunday over Minnesota, though the Predators did not play particularly well against the St. Louis Blues, though it was a close game here on Saturday. We go with the coach's take, John Hines on the Penguins.
Well, I think it's going to be a great test for us. Pittsburgh's playing some really good hockey, and, I think what you really respect about them is I think the talent that they have on the team, but, they're hard to play against. They have guys that work, they play the right way, they check without the puck. And, they have opportunities if you're not diligent in your own game with the puck or without the puck, they give you an opportunity to score. The other one I think for us is it's, we've talked a lot about our team growing and having different opportunities, and you're playing one of the best teams in the league, one of the top teams in the East. I think they've gone into Tampa and beat Tampa. They just beat Carolina. So I think it's great for us. We came off 2 big divisional games that we had to play the game the right way, and now we have another stiff test against a team from the East that's has a lot of different components that challenge you. So, we're going to have to be at our competitive best here tonight.
And Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene have to keep putting the puck in the back of the net. I believe for a franchise that has never had a 40-goal scorer, if Philip Forsberg ends up not getting traded, the Predators may have 2 this year in both Duchene and Forsberg. We take a look at the standings. Colorado running away with it, as always, in first place with 89 points. St. Louis has 76 points. Minnesota and the Preds are tied in second place, though Minnesota has a game in hand at 72 points. And Dallas, with 2 games in hand, is a solid Dallas is 67. So you're talking about 5 points behind the Predators. So the Predators are going to have to win. I really want to be 4th place, but I'd much rather be 3rd place than 5th place, because 5th place means Colorado off the jump. So if you're the Predators, that 4th place just seems so nice to go out in the Pacific Division and take on Calgary and the Kings and Edmonton, who's moved ahead of Vegas, and play those teams that aren't as good. Although Edmonton would be a horrible matchup for the Predators, but it would be much better in that regard. But you talk about high-end forwards and speed. Here come the Penguins tonight. Preds and Penguins coming up here at Bridgestone Arena. Darren McFarland is rocking and ready to go. He's got the tie on and everything. He is ready to roll, and he is coming up next live inside of the Patron Platinum Club. We are out of here. We're back at it tomorrow at 2, but the pregame and then the puck drop right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.